Chapter 946, Xiao Ling's Confusion. Everyone, take a rest. With the kill count around 99,000, following Robin's prophecy, Hua Yu commanded all the members of the Starwings Knights to cease fighting and switch into complete defense mode. The Starwings Knights orderly withdrew from the battlefield and entered their camp. They set down their weapons and some exhausted squads even fell asleep back to back. Thousands of crystal bees attacked, shooting out sharp stingers. Ripples spread across the massive shields surrounding the Starwings Knights' camp, resembling raindrops. However, not a single stinger could break through this seemingly transparent silver shield. "Thank you, Mumu. We will rely on you next," Hua Yu patted Mumu's head beside her. This massive shield was not Hua Yu's doing, it was the smallest Mumu of the Starwings Knights who had opened the shield. Hua Yu's Sacred Shield is a protective skill that is cast on all the members of the Starwings Knights. Mumu's Silver Shield, on the other hand, is a huge stationary shield that resembles a war fortress. Thanks to the presence of these two shields, along with Robin's prophecy, the Starwings Knights were able to stand out and achieve great success in the trial of the White Lotus secret treasure. Mumu will do her best. Mumu, who has always been taken care of by the twin witches and hasn't had many chances to show her true strength, now has a large silver hair accessory on her head that radiates a soft glow. The icy crystal on her chest seems to be melting away, and the restraints that have always been worn on her body also show signs of loosening. Her once timid expression has become radiant and confident as she has become closer to the Starwings Knights. This place is her favorite place. The girls of the Starwings Knights treated her with love and care, and she had long fallen in love with these cheerful and innocent girls. Mumu will protect them. Mumu is actually very powerful, as both Red Lotus and White Lotus have told her. Did those crystal bees just become stronger? I also feel that the more we kill, the more intelligent these crystal bees become. If they weren't enemies, I would love to keep some as pets. They must be great at making honey. It would be amazing if May could use it to make bread. May would definitely love these crystal bees. During their break, the Starwings Knights often talked about May. After May left, everyone missed her black-haired figure even more. What do you think May is doing right now? Robin, make a prediction. Yours are always accurate. Yes, please make a prediction. All the girls who were severely affected by the plum poisoning looked at the Starwings Knight's only fortune teller with hopeful eyes. The genius from the Heaven's Path Palace. I advise you not to get your hopes up too much, what that person said. Shrugged Robin. Perhaps a disaster is about to strike. Now a disaster was about to strike. Yunshi looked at Xiao Ling, who was wearing his coat, with a headache. He looked at her from left to right, up and down, as if trying to see through her completely. Due to the crystal bee tearing and completely destroying her original spiritual clothes, along with her underwear, Xiao Ling was only wearing Yunshi's coat, revealing all her curves. Whether it was the little bumps on her chest or her delicate and cute body, everything was on full display. The problem was, she seemed completely oblivious to the fact that she had been exposing herself since a while ago. Since a little while ago, she had been looking at Yunshi with a stubborn and serious expression. Did you see it? This is not a question, but a statement. Yunshi couldn't say yes or no, instinctively knowing that either answer would be wrong. Sometimes, girls have the privilege of being unreasonable. Staying silent is the best option at times like these. Silence is golden. Yunshi kept a calm and composed expression, observing with his eyes and contemplating with his heart. Are you really a swordsman of the ghost sword domain? I've never heard of that 100-ghost sword. The more Xiao Ling looked at Yunshi, the more she doubted. A genius swordsman of such beauty, who could rescue people from the endless storm of bee stings, how could they remain unknown? The ghost sword domain should have long been famous for having such a peerless talent, who wields one of the 100 ghost swords, just like Zi Yuan, one of the candidates for the position of the master of the ghost sword domain in this generation. Yun Shi continued to pretend to be ignorant, neither admitting nor denying anything. After all, he had never claimed to be the owner of the 100 ghost sword. It was rather perplexing to him why the prince and princess of the Great Xia had such an assumptive look, mistaking his mist ghost sword for that so-called 100 ghost sword. Actually, it was just a fake god weapon that he had the Mist Spirit Legion create for him to disguise his identity. When did it become a separate entity of the legendary Ghost Sword domain and the Supreme Sky Sword? As for the secrets of the highest level of the Sky Sword God's domain, Yun Shi, who used to be a plain pastry shop owner not long ago, claimed to have no knowledge about them. If you don't want to answer, that's fine. Your only purpose for coming here is the White Lotus secret treasure, not to pledge your loyalty to me. Xiao Ling figured it out. No matter which true disciple of the Ghost Sword domain Yun Ke was, she truly saved him, and her performance in battle side by side with him was satisfactory to her. With a temporary formed team, it's best not to expect too much. But when he saved her from the brink of life and held her in his arms, breaking free from the surrounding army of crystal bees amidst a sea of red and blue lights, she felt a string in her heart being plucked. That black hair became a symbol of luck in her memory. Sometimes, the many coincidences make you have to believe certain things. Lucky black hair. Xiao Ling remembered the revelation she received in the heart-asking cabin. At that time, she was determined to challenge Hua Hua and thought it was just an unreliable rumor. Perhaps, sometimes, it's okay to believe in miracles. Let me lean on you for a bit. Closing her eyes, Xiao Ling willingly leaned against the back of Yun Shi, letting down her guard completely and falling into a deep sleep under the effects of the return to heaven pill. When she woke up, the battle had to continue. But for now, let's take a short rest. Yun Ke's hair smells really nice, with a hint of a hazy mist. Like mist, like clouds, ethereal and unpredictable, it was clearly in front of them, yet as mysterious as the clouds on the horizon. Who are you, really? The bonfire burned quietly, casting their shadows like a beautiful painting. Chapter 947, Xia Jie's determination. On the other hand, the great Xia prince, Xia Jie, who was rescued by his own 12 black cavalry, had also regained consciousness in the great Xia camp. Ouch! It hurts. It hurts. There was no part of his body that was intact. Perhaps it was because his killing value was much higher than his little sister's, and he had gone on a rampage together with the 12 black cavalry, resulting in Xia Jie taking over half of the leader B's anger. Even the black flame dragon armor couldn't withstand the frenzy of B's stings. In comparison, the 12 black cavalry, who were only wearing the black sword armor set, had all been riddled with holes, yet they still faithfully protected Xia Jie and helped him escape from the battlefield, demonstrating their absolute strength surpassing that of the great Xia Imperial Guards. However, it was easy for the black cavalry to kill, but rescuing someone was another story. In the end, the healers from the great Xia kingdom were extremely surprised and rushed to save Xia Jie. With the help of magical potions from the Heaven's Path Palace, they managed to bring Xia Jie back from the brink of death. Wow! Are those little bees going crazy? Xia Jie, lying motionless, looked at his heavily wounded body with a frustrated expression. It was really close. The mighty crown prince of the great Xia almost died at the hands of those little bees. It would be quite embarrassing if word got out, just like a powerful general being defeated by a lowly soldier. You guys. Remember to protect me with all your might next time, and kill fewer enemies. You should shield me from bullets more often. Reflecting on his achievements on the battlefield, Xia Jie realized that the black cavalry was extremely useful and had potential for further development. The silent black cavalry didn't respond at all. And rightfully so, as they were not human anymore, but rather secret treasures created through extremely cruel methods. The prince and princess of the Great Xia were attacked by a storm of bee stings that put them on the brink of death. Even though the Black Cavalry, who were normally weaker than the two of them, it was impossible for them to survive. As long as they were human, they had no way of escaping the relentless stings of the crystal bees. Their hearts, necks, and even heads were subjected to lethal injuries over dozens of times in order to save Xia Jie. Any other human would have died long ago, but the Black Cavalry did not have the means of self-preservation that the prince and princess had. That's why Yunxi always felt that these Black Cavalry had a trace of the underworld about them. They were actually already dead. In order to be loyal to the Great Xia and protect their homeland, these elite soldiers from the Great Xia dynasty, many of whom became generals, willingly sacrificed their bodies. In the end, they became the secret treasures they are now. This forbidden technique that transcends life and death comes from the true legacy of the Heaven's Path Palace. In the process of transformation, they were still alive and had to endure the brutal torture, which felt like hell, with their own will. Only after surviving all the refining procedures could they put on the black sword armor, representing the curse, and become fearless Black Knights. Death was not the end for them, but the beginning. The resources consumed by each Black Cavalry were astronomical, and so far, the number of completed ones produced did not exceed 3 digits. They were considered one of the national treasures of the Great Xia dynasty. Because they were not living beings, they could be regarded as treasures. Even without the mark of the White Lotus secret treasure, they could be brought into the trial by Xia Jie and become his ace. Compared to the princess of the Great Xia, Xia Ling, Xia Jie obviously had more resources, thanks to his inherent gender advantage. No matter how outstanding a princess is, unless she enters the legend rank and inherits the position of the Sky Sword, she still has to marry. And the Crown Prince is going to inherit the throne of the Great Xia and become the prince who will eventually reign over the world. He carries the blood of a true dragon. Facing a life-or-death crisis, the 12 Black Cavalry were given the order to protect Xia Jie at all costs. As for Princess Xia Ling, she was abandoned. No, this can't go on. We can't be stopped by those annoying bees. After thinking it over, Xia Jie finally decided to use his own trump card. The strength of the 12 Black Cavalry was far greater than it appeared. Back at the Great Xia's camp, Yunxi even felt a genuine threat emanating from these silent Black Knights. It was a pressure that not even Xia Jie, who unleashed his dragon soul, had. It was a power belonging to a non-human realm. You all, start unsealing. Struggling to stand up, Xia Jie began reaching out his hand to manually modify the runes on the black sword armor of the 12 Black Cavalry. Representing the highest level of craftsmanship from the Heaven's Path Palace, the Great Xia has only produced less than 3-digit war tools in its thousands of years of history. The Black Cavalry holds many forbidden techniques hidden within. Just in the process of creation, numerous elites from the Great Xia army have lost their lives. Although these elites willingly accepted the transformation and most of them were orphans, the rate of loss is still too high for the entire Sky Sword God's domain, especially the Great Xia, to afford. The runes inscribed on the Black Cavalry, the black sword armor, are mostly used to enhance the power of these Black Cavalry. However, there are several hidden runes that are used to restrain some of their instincts. Their essence is that of dead people, living beings crafted into precious weapons. The real beings from the Heaven's Path Palace who created these weapons have embedded earth-shattering means within the bodies of these war tools, allowing them to unleash terrifying power. However, using these methods comes at a cost. This cost is not only borne by the Black Cavalry but also by those who command and control them. The principle of equivalent exchange is still one of the highest truths in the endless God's domains. From today onwards, you will become my clones. Xia Jie said seriously, biting his finger and adding his own blood to the runes of the Black Cavalry. 12 black cavalry is the maximum he can handle. Gaining the true power of the 12 black cavalry also means he must bear an equal curse. Give me your power. Give me everything you have. I will win. For my sister. Xia Jie's shouts echoed in the sky. It was the oath of the great Xia prince, the will of a tyrant. The previously silent black cavalry soldiers started to sparkle with red light in their eyes, as the energy surged back into their depleted bodies after receiving Xia Jie's blood. Half of the 12 black cavalry soldiers kneeled beside Xia Jie, their once lifeless demeanor now renewed. The dormant spirit of the great Xia army, sealed within the body by the secret techniques of the Heaven's Path Palace, awakened at this moment. From this moment on, Xia Jie gained the power equivalent to 12 hero-ranked knights. They were the shields that protected the great Xia dynasty, the black knights born to face any obstacles in the way of the great Xia dynasty. Chapter 948, An annoying situation. By unlocking the power hidden within the bodies of the black cavalry soldiers, Xia Jie paid a great price. From now on, he had to supply the 12 black cavalry soldiers with his own blood every day to maintain their powerful souls. This is still based on his inheritance of the great Xia prince's legendary weapon, the Black Flame Dragon armor, which can use some of the power of the great Xia's dragon veins to pay for these costs. Otherwise, the consumption of maintaining the power of the 12 black cavalry's war souls would be enough to drain the vitality and eventually kill a hero-ranked individual within a day. The 12 black cavalry are the maximum number that Xia Jie, as calculated by the Heaven's Path Palace, can control. Even one more would disrupt the balance and cause Xia Jie to be trapped in an irreversible state. By paying with their own life force, Xia Jie has obtained 12 guardians with hero-ranked combat abilities and an unwavering dedication to protect him. They will become his clones, the most loyal war tools, and from now on, they will be able to unleash the secret techniques engraved within their bodies by the Heaven's Path Palace. This is the power of the treasure. Xia Jie stretched out his fingers, then tightly clenched them. As the leader of the 12 black cavalry, he could temporarily combine all the strength of the black cavalry and instantly gain the power to enter the 5th rank. But the burden on his body was too great, even the dragon's soul couldn't alleviate it. Only 3 minutes. Xia Jie calculated his limit and took a deep breath. Unleashing the power of the 12 black cavalry was a double-edged sword. But even so, he had no regrets. After enduring the bullet barrage from the leader B, Xia Jie, who had returned from the brink of death, desired power more than ever. Bring me to the princess. Having gotten used to the 12 additional viewpoints, Xia Jie quickly regained his energy. Your Highness, the princess, is not here. Xia Hu, the captain of the royal guard who had come to obey, shook his head and delivered this bad news to Xia Jie. How could it be possible? I clearly saw that effeminate-looking person save him. Xia Jie became furious, feeling a terrible sense of foreboding. The princess's soul lamp hasn't gone out, but she hasn't returned either. Perhaps she's with the guest envoy from the Ghost Sword domain. Xia Hu also looked troubled, wondering if their princess. What? Xia Jie became enraged. That effeminate person actually kidnapped my sister. This is outrageous. Where does he get the audacity to lay a hand on my sister? Cough. Your Highness. Things shouldn't be as bad as they seem. Xia Hu wiped his forehead, once again feeling the domineering presence of the crown prince of the Great Xia. As the future heir of the Great Xia dynasty, Xia Jie possessed exceptional leadership abilities and remarkable personal strength. He was highly popular among the army. Xia Jie, the pride of the Great Xia dynasty, was widely recognized as the most outstanding prince of his generation. With his strong family background, it was only a matter of time before he ascended the throne. But there was one weakness in the eyes of everyone who saw him as the future emperor of the Great Xia, his sister, Xiao Ling. Unlike the ambitious and strategic Xiao Jie, Xiao Ling was a talented swordswoman who cared about nothing except the art of swordsmanship. Having gained the approval of the great Xiao's god weapon, the twin dragon sword, she openly announced at the age of 10 that she would give up her inheritance rights and steer clear of the political and military turmoil of the great Xia dynasty. She dedicated herself wholeheartedly to honing her sword skills. Despite being isolated by the royal family of the great Xia, this princess was endlessly doted on by her brother, Xiao Jie. To put it bluntly, even if Xiao Ling desired the moon in the sky, Xiao Jie would do everything in his power to make the impossible possible. When it came to his sister, Xiao Jie, nicknamed the Tyrant in the army, was capable of anything. In the past, Xiao Ling was forced by older family members to marry a talented person from another prestigious family. But Xiao Jie used his power to banish that family to the border area of the Sky Sword God's domain, causing them to lose everything and be devastated. Since that incident, everyone knew not to mention Xiao Ling in front of the crown prince of the great Xia, as it would be putting themselves in great danger. Most of the people who dared to speak ill of Princess Xiao Ling have disappeared from this world. All alone in a secluded place. In the quiet of the night, that beast. Oh, my poor sister. Xiao Jie paced in circles, thinking about the worst possible outcome, his temples throbbing with anger. Damn it, why did he faint at the most critical moment? Couldn't those stubborn black cavalry be a bit smarter and rescue Xiao Ling from that wimp's clutches? Now, it was too late to say anything. Could it be that his sister had already fallen victim to that wimp's treacherous hands? From the moment he laid eyes on that person, his nose told him that this incredibly beautiful person with no clear gender might be the biggest enemy of his life. He had never seen his sister act so friendly towards someone she just met. Despite this person's cold and silent appearance, he couldn't trust them. Who cares about the ghost sword domain or the 100 ghost sword? None of that matters. What's important is that this person's damn face. Why would a man have such long dark hair? Sister, you must not be deceived. This person is definitely someone who starts trouble and then abandons it, a heartless player who goes through countless relationships. Yun Kei is a creature that those lousy poets love the most, and anything that poets love can't be anything good. Whatever you do, don't let his appearance fool you. Beside the bonfire, Xiao Ling slowly opened her eyes. With her back turned to Yun Shi, she smelled the faint scent of his hair and her gaze became hazy and dreamy. Hey, why do you have such long black hair? Does the name Yun Kei have any meaning? Out of curiosity and trust, the delicate balance between life and death, like a drawbridge effect, always stirs up waves in a young girl's heart. Black hair represents luck. Yun Shi said, making up a nonsense story with a serious expression. Yun Kei represents memories that will never be forgotten. Yes, the memories of the red-clad archer who always stood in the center of the battlefield, aloof and proud. Yun Hai and Yun Quebec. The elusive clouds. Birds soaring and dancing in the sky. Perhaps, they may never encounter that resolute figure again, the one who could always handle everything perfectly, never giving up, no matter the adversity. When they fought side by side, he could trust him with his back, and he never let him down. Even the days when they argued over goals and methods seem very interesting in hindsight. Chapter 949, The Attack of the Wild Bees. Yun Kei, what a nice name. Xiao Ling began to move her body, enjoying the feeling of pushing her limits. After passing through the gates of death, Xiao Jie wasn't the only one who became stronger. Xiao Ling also gained a profound understanding of something extraordinary. The terror of life and death was overwhelming. This was the first time she had come so close to death, and it gave her a deeper insight into controlling the power of the dragon spirit. Now, perhaps she could create an even stronger and more perfect green dragon spirit. Even if we have to stand against the world, we will uphold our own justice. Even if we are covered in wounds, we will never show our vulnerable side. No matter what kind of opponent we face, we will never give up the fight. Yunshi spoke of the beautiful bird gracefully soaring in the sky, a friend who fought alongside him. He had very few friends, so he cherished the memories of fighting side by side with Yun Quebec. Unfortunately, ever since the trial of the water god world ended, he had not heard any news from Yun Quebec. Perhaps she had left the White Lotus Sword domain. Buzz! 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 The terrifying sound of wings resounded in the darkness once again. Dawn was approaching, the final moments of darkness before the arrival of dawn. The Crystal Monster Army, tracked from deep within the Crystal Creek Valley, launched their attack once more. It's here. It's among this group of crystal bees. Even without knowing the identity of the monster that had once brought them to the brink of despair, simply observing the extraordinary actions of these crystal bees would reveal the difference. The army of crystal bees with it and without it were completely different concepts. Are they chasing us? Yunshi drew out his mist ghost sword from behind. Coincidentally, he also wanted to know what was controlling and dominating this army of crystal bees. If you want to overcome the trial of Crystal Creek Valley, then you must face this unknown threat. Be careful, that kind of attack is unavoidable. Once you experience a barrage like that, you will understand the desperation it brings. Even now, with Yunshi's improved physical limits and higher understanding of swordsmanship, Xiao Ling couldn't think of any way to face this crazy barrage of attacks. It was already an attack that reached the level of divine power, hardly resembling an ability in the hero-ranked field. Yes, unable to avoid it. Yunshi readily admitted this. The overwhelming barrage of crystal bee attacks had reached an artistic level. Any humanoid creature would be powerless against this barrage of attacks. No human army can launch millions or billions of attacks in an instant. The human body and fighting skills are not designed for such a style of attack. Even if 1,000,000 soldiers surround a hero-ranked individual, only a few dozen can actually attack the hero-ranked. To most powerful heroes, the number of millions is just a meaningless number. With this confidence, Xiao Jia unleashed his killing spree. The Crystal Bee Army, led by the leader bee, is a group that surpasses human understanding. Just because humans can't do something doesn't mean they can't. The leader bee, born in response to the collective will of the crystal bee, possesses the power to bring together the strength of thousands and thousands of crystal bees. Since we can't avoid it, then there's no need to avoid it. Yunshi swung his sword without hesitation, and all the crystal bees in front of him turned into numbers. Memories from Yunhai's quadrant sword told Yunshi that the foundation of this divine sword technique was simply addition. Yunhai's quadrant sword is essentially a mathematical sword that interprets the truth of the world using mathematical principles. Yunshi doesn't have the same talent as Yunhai the sword master, so he can only start his training from scratch using the simplest and most direct methods. These stronger crystal bees became Yunshi's training targets. Bees to kill in the thousands, victory will be divine. A little bee fell down. 2 little bees had broken wings. 3 little bees lost their heads. 4 little bees asked why. The 5th little bee never returned. The mist spirits hummed strange nursery rhymes, appearing and disappearing in the hazy mist. Countless red and blue dots burst forth, and Xiao Ling once again felt the breath of death. However, none of the red or blue light dots hit Yunshi, who is in the sea of bullets. Yunshi couldn't dodge all the attacks. So, he chose to kill the attacking bees. Bullets come from somewhere and go back there. The mist ghost sword created uncertain paths, reflecting back each bee sting aimed at Yunshi. It was an incredible sword technique, relying on superhuman reflexes and sword speed to accomplish. Yunshi possessed the tremendous power of the diamond body, giving him terrifying explosive strength. The flexible body granted Yunshi effortless skill in any action he performed. The combination of a strong and flexible body allowed him to do anything he wanted. Xiao Ling's reaction abilities and Xiao Jie's counterattacks were no problem at all for Yunshi. Even faced with thousands of crystal bees attacking, even when there are hundreds of thousands, millions of crystal bees turning into a barrage of bullets every second, they couldn't stop Yunshi's killing moves. The curtain of swords formed by the 2-meter-long mist ghost sword was like an insurmountable barrier, blocking all the bullet attacks within 1 meter of Yunshi. What's more, as Yunshi swung his sword, these bee stingers would be reflected back, killing the attacking crystal bees. Xiao Ling stared at Yunshi as he swung his sword, clearly understanding how he was attacking, but she couldn't even imagine being able to do it herself. Is the swordsmanship in the ghost sword domain really that terrifying? Xiao Ling could judge the intent and angle of every strike, but she could never do it herself. This extremely elegant and almost like a dance swordsmanship requires a very high level of physical fitness. A sword, capable of blocking 1,000,000 bullets per second, what an amazing skill. Xiao Ling even thought she saw a glimpse of the legendary divine sword. Buzz! 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 More crystal bees came to reinforce from the deep parts of Crystal Creek Valley. The angry leader bee clearly had no intentions of letting any invaders leave alive. Which one could it be? Moving with ghost-like steps, Yunshi got used to the rhythm of the bullet attacks. The mist ghost sword emitted a light laughter, sounding just like a young girl. The adorable mist spirits lingered around Yunshi, making his figure appear even more mysterious, like someone walking between the real world and the underworld. It's that one, oh. The only girl in the mist spirit army who possessed the eye of the heart, Yunshi lightly pointed to one corner of the bee swarm. Chapter 950. Captivated by the sword. If it weren't for her guidance, Yunshi wouldn't have noticed the bee that appeared to be slightly smaller than the usual crystal bees, but was actually the leader of the entire crystal bee army. Just by sensing its presence, there was no discernible difference between it and the surrounding crystal bees. Only when she pointed out its true form, did Yunshi realize that on the stinger of this smaller crystal bee, there were faint hints of red and blue lights. Amidst millions of red and blue bullets fired per second, these faint glimmers of light were as insignificant as fireflies under the sun. Lock on. Yunshi's gaze became calm, and her swings of the mist ghost sword became lighter and more concise. Using a 2-meter-long blade, she effortlessly deflected and reflected the millions of bee bullets per second, displaying Yunshi's terrifying swordsmanship with near-impossible speed and reaction. Yunshi has always looked up to Hua Hua, who has mastered the sky-flying sword. He has used her as a reference for his own sword practice. He has even experienced the realm of the sky-flying sword using Yunhai's quadrant sword as the key. Therefore, Yunshi never feels qualified to be satisfied with his current level of swordsmanship. Compared to the Queen of Assyria's Spider Blade and Red Dragon Zaka's powerful Dragon Roar wave that covers the sky and earth, his sword skills are still not strong enough. However, this is obviously his personal opinion. Xiao Ling, the princess of the Great Xia, is amazed by Yunshi's sword speed and reaction at this moment. Her sword skills, which involve turning the sword into a spirit, are completely different and belong to another realm of swordsmanship. In terms of the expression of sword skills, simply swinging the sword at high speed is far inferior to the princess of the Great Xia, who can transform into a dragon with the god weapon and deliver a powerful strike. But this is only what an outsider sees in swordsmanship. As one of the most talented swordsmen in the royal family of the Great Xia, Xiao Ling saw incredible talent in Yunshi's swordsmanship. Yes, she couldn't unleash a 40-meter sword aura or transform into a dragon to attack her opponents. Yun Kei, who came from the ghost sword domain, simply used the basic technique of swinging the sword repeatedly at high speed, cutting through all the bee-shaped projectiles and reflecting them back. It seemed like a simple shield skill, only capable of passive counterattacks. Only those who have experienced such projectile attacks know what a nightmare the attack frequency of millions of strikes per second can be. Even a 5th-ranked hero couldn't withstand such a dense barrage of attacks for more than a second. Even the mighty black flame dragon armor of Prince Xia Jie, supported by the power of the great Xia's dragon veins and inheriting the god weapon, was riddled with holes by the overwhelming barrage of B-shaped projectiles. With his simple sword skills, Yun Shi swung his 2-meter-long sword, effortlessly cutting through all the projectile attacks and reflecting them back. His physical fitness, sword speed, and quick reflexes were extraordinary. Xiao Ling couldn't believe her eyes. She never thought that someone could achieve such feats with just a sword. Throughout the entire battle, Yun Shi remained calm and composed, as if he could take on the whole world as long as he had a sword in his hand. The princess of the great Xia couldn't help but be captivated by his intense focus on the sword and his flowing black hair behind him. Only a genius in the way of the sword could truly comprehend the awe-inspiring and extraordinary swordsmanship Yun Shi displayed. It was a terrifying talent that surpassed human limits by countless times. No matter how powerful the sword technique, it all came down to the most basic act of swinging a sword. In the great Xia royal family, Xiao Ling is hailed as the most talented sword practitioner. She can wield her sword with incredible speed and can even feel her heart racing with excitement. Only someone like Xiao Ling has the qualifications to follow in the footsteps of the Sky Sword. Similar to the monster Hua Hua, the person standing before her, Yun Kei, is also a monster as she swings her sword, turning impossibilities into possibilities, breaking all norms and surpassing all limitations. Yes, Xiao Ling also wants to become someone like that, someone who can handle all the sky swords without a doubt. Bang! 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 Gazing at the flowing black hair, Xiao Ling's heart stirs, her eyes becoming heated, as if she has found a treasure beyond compare. Yun Shi, on the other hand, knows nothing about this. After all, his knowledge of swordsmanship is somewhat lacking. His journey in mastering the sword is slightly different from the normal process. Take Princess Xiao Ling, for example. She started with military sword techniques from the Great Xia dynasty, gradually progressing through the entire system of basic swordsmanship. After Yun Shi practiced more than 72 different sword techniques, from the lowest level to the highest level, he finally entered the realm of the sword turning into a spirit. As for Yun Shi, he learned the flying swallow sword from his childhood friend using a special seed, and then he directly started practicing the Yunhai's quadrant sword. He even had a chance to feel the power and grace of the sky-flying sword with the help of the star wings. This journey of progress was like a monkey climbing down a tree and immediately leaping into the starry sky. So, in Yun Shi's eyes, the level of sword skills can be categorized into only a few stages. The basic sword technique that even a monkey could learn, the difficult Yunhai's quadrant sword, and the divine sky-flying sword that can fly into the sky. These 2 stages do exist, but many steps in between were skipped. It's all because the seed Yun Shi obtained from his childhood friend was so magical and unbelievable. This extraordinary seed, Yun Shi, is taking a different approach. The more Yun Shi improves himself, the more insane the acceleration from this extraordinary seed, which comes from his childhood friend. Now, in the eyes of the princess of the great Xia, Xiao Ling, Yun Shi has become a monster like Hua Hua. Yun Shi feels that he needs to achieve what Hua Hua can do in order to catch up with her. He doesn't realize how insane this chase after Hua Hua is. One could only say that treating Hua Hua as a reference for his swordsmanship is not something a human should think about, but Yun Shi naturally thinks this way. Not being able to reach Hua Hua's level of swordsmanship means he is not strong enough, not remarkable enough. This reasoning seems correct. After all, Yun Shi's most familiar peer in this world is his childhood friend and first love. Even the presence of his first girlfriend cannot be caught, let alone the terrifying ex-girlfriends he will face in the future. Yunxi's vision is so lofty. Countless red and blue dots started spinning and dancing, making the princess of the Great Xia feel the shadow of death once again. The dance of the angry leader bee, the Milky Way spins. Chapter 951, The Name of the Insect Princess. Here it comes. From the very beginning, Yunxi knew he had to face this move. The storm of swirling red and blue dots was so powerful that even the prince of the Great Xia, wearing the black flame dragon armor, was killed in one blow. If it weren't for the sacrifice of the 12 black cavalry, he would have perished long ago. Whether it was the dragon soul of the black flame dragon armor or the princess of the Great Xia's realm transformation with her sword, it had no meaning against this infinite swirling storm of bee stings that seemed like the reversal of the stars. This power, controlled by the furious leader bee, had already surpassed the limits that the prince and princess of the Great Xia could handle. Yunxi could even feel a similar aura to the divine sword technique from the endlessly rotating red and blue world, although it was only a small part. This made him extremely cautious. I wonder where that leader bee got such power from. This endless swirling red and blue storm is enough to kill any hero ranked with a 4th rank. Even the god weapon cannot withstand the unlimited stinging attacks. Yunxi doesn't have the same defensive capabilities as the black flame dragon armor or any form of immortality. The bonfire in the White Lotus secret treasure world doesn't have the same resurrecting power as Yunhai the sky sword and the memory of Yunhai's quadrant sword. Since defense is impossible, the only option is to break through. The Mist Ghost sword, which is 2 meters long, leaves countless light sword marks, continuously shattering the endlessly rotating red and blue dots of light, refracting them. At the same time, Yunxi's footsteps also start to move continuously. It's like a dance that emerges from a small space, having a rhythm similar to the endlessly rotating red and blue dots of light. The bee stings that were reflected back were just a small part compared to the millions of bee stings raining down every second. But as Yunxi's footsteps gradually caught up with the rhythm of the red and blue lights, he faintly touched upon some secrets hidden within the storm of crystal bee stings. It wasn't the scenery of this planet, the landscapes of God's domain, or even the style of the endless God's domains. The furious leader bee's storm depicted more, and more complex, scenery that was not recorded by the endless God's domains. It was a figure dancing amidst the endless stardust, leaping in a dazzling dance. It was an infinite army that used nebulae as their stage, a massive legion of billions and trillions, making the galaxies sway with their movements. In the trial of the White Lotus secret treasure, only a tiny fraction of the owners will, insignificantly small, had arrived. That leader bee was just a small reflection of that mighty being, not even a complete shadow, just a fragment of a shadow. They are a powerful race that even the stars themselves would specially record and permanently include in the history of the universe. They are princesses who reign over countless star domains. Her name cannot be deciphered in human language, only her species code can be obtained. Insect Princess, Crimson Bee. In the vastness of the universe, they have the most terrifying and powerful insect nests, conquering more than millions of star domains. They are one of the strongest insect princesses in the history of the galaxy. Buzz. 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 Yunxi gained the power of the origin bestowed upon him by the Mighty One in the dancing of the bee swarm, a certain insect princess with the code name located outside the endless God's domains. Instantly, all the crystal bees began to go into a frenzy. The leader bee hidden among the crystal bee swarm also seemed to fall into some kind of frenzy, starting to rampage completely. Faster, increase the speed. Challenge your limits. The scenery of the world began to change. It was a sign that one of the strongest insect princesses from the endless God's domains was using her powers to distort the reality of the world and change its rules. This was definitely not the normal difficulty of the White Lotus secret treasure trial. Yunxi's actions triggered the ultimate level of the Crystal Creek Valley trial. The angry leader bee appeared. Xiaoling was shocked to discover that the entire terrain of Crystal Creek Valley had been forcibly altered. The scattered crystal bushes gathered together, forming impassable crystal walls on both sides of Yunxi. Countless crystal bees, too many to count, swarmed out from the enormous hive deep within Crystal Creek Valley. The leader bees, who were originally hidden among the ordinary crystal bees, started to turn a strange crimson color. They proudly hovered above the crystal bee nest, commanding an endless army of crystal bees to attack Yunxi. The level in Crystal Creek Valley of White Lotus Secret Treasure has completely turned into a very difficult mode, like being in hell. Or you could say, it was the will of the insect princess from outside the endless gods' domains that gave this leader bee its final glorious moment. All the players, who are part of the Great Xia Dynasty team, located in this Crystal Creek Valley, heard a voice. Hidden trial, begin. Enter into paradise. Buzz. 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 All the crystal bees went crazy, following the orders of the leader bee. They burned their own lives in response to the great will of the insect princess, performing the most passionate dance. This time, the stingers they shot out were only one each, a single stinger that condensed all their vitality, delivering a deadly strike in the most furious manner. The entire crystal bee nest became disposable, paying the price for this ultimate trial. The situation went beyond the expectations of the priestesses behind the White Lotus Secret Treasure trial. This was not the planned stage of the White Lotus Secret Treasure trial. It seemed that under the influence of certain factors, the entire White Lotus Secret Treasure trial started undergoing unknown changes. The invasion of Insect Princess's power was one of the variables caused by this change. However, this had nothing to do with Yunxi. All he had to do was follow his own plan and defeat the fiery red leader bee. Just like a fable with a moral. How to fit an elephant into a box? The answer is, open the door of the box, stuff the elephant inside, and close the door. Just like the book, Calculus Made Easy, even for monkeys, Yunxi was not good at considering such complex things. The stages after the basic sword technique is the divine sword technique. Yes, that's how it is. Childhood sweethearts are one's first love, isn't that natural? Locking down enemies, defeating them, without worrying about anything else. This is how Yunxi, a hero-ranked warrior, fights. This is just the first stage of the trial. We can't afford to lose here. The difficulty must have been prepared well in advance. Alright, let's go. Faced with an onslaught of bullets with insane speed, and facing the Crimson Leader Bee, which is like a hellish challenge, Yunxi, without hesitation, swung his sword. Although it was just a 2-meter-long sword, Yunxi wielded it in a magnificent manner, covering all angles. It looked like a perfect circle, absorbing all the enemy bullets and collecting the power from the red and blue dots. Chapter 952, The Gigabit Wings. This is not a skill that a human hero ranked can accomplish. Or rather, it's something that can't be done by a human hero ranked who doesn't have the diamond body, or flexible body. From a seed called a gold diamond, obtained from Mumu, Yunxi gained incredible physical strength that cannot be perceived from his appearance. Blessed by Hydra the water god, Yunxi acquired Flex Body, which added unmatched flexibility to his indestructible physique, enabling him to perform unimaginable feats. With the strength of his solid body, he could shatter the earth and shake the sky with his powerful attacks. With the characteristics of his flexible body, he could nullify any attack and transform into surging waves that covered the entire world, reaching for the stars and the moon. In the eyes of others, Yunxi appeared unreal and ethereally beautiful, to the point that Xia Jia dismissed his appearance as feminine. If Xia Jia could witness the swordsmanship Yunxi displayed at this moment, he would understand the vast disparity between them. The flow of blood in Yunxi's body resembled violent molten lava, the ultimate technique of the red steel genre known as blood of lava, igniting his solid body to its limits. The sword's graceful and perfect circle can block the fierce storm of bullets with ease. But that's not enough. It's still far from enough. Even with a perfect defensive circle, if you only endure attacks, it will only delay defeat. The leader bee, a hidden trial master in Crystal Creek Valley, commands an army of over millions of crystal bees. And it has the ability to unleash the hidden power of this crystal bee army. The crystal bee army consists entirely of third-ranked elite bees. They can only be killed one-on-one by a fourth-ranked hero. But with their numbers reaching millions and even billions, and with their concentrated power, they become a nightmare for all hero-ranked beings. Only hero-ranked beings have the power to kill hero-ranked ones, and the leader bee who commands the Crystal Bee army is a special kind of hero-ranked. He gave up his physical strength and focused all his abilities on his leadership, becoming the king who controls his own army. In terms of individual combat ability, this temporary red leader bee is perhaps the weakest among all hero-ranked creatures. But with the support of the Crystal Bee Hive and gaining some power from the insect princess from beyond the endless gods' domains, this probably weakest hero-ranked leader bee in history instantly turned into a monstrous creature of hell-level strength. Driven by the power of the entire Crystal Bee Hive, it even distorted the entire Crystal Creek Valley with its own will, causing unexpected hidden levels in the trial of the White Lotus secret treasure. The true anger of the angry leader bee brings forth a dance of ultimate bliss. This is a hero-ranked challenge that humans cannot break through with their physical bodies. It is a magnificent swan song that announces death. In order to perform this magnificent swan song, the Crimson Leader Bee sacrificed its own life. During this brief final trial, it serves as both a symphony announcing the death of the opponent and as a countdown to the leader bee's own life. Even though it was bestowed with a hint of power from the insect princess, it is destined to perish here, paying the price with its own life to perform this symphony. Wow, this is the trial of the White Lotus secret treasure. Did Yunhai the Sky Sword, in the past, also face such a despairing situation and continuously surpass his own limits? Well then, I must also achieve that. After mastering the basic sword techniques comes the divine sword techniques. After being a bakery owner, the protagonist became the child of the stars, who had 4 ex-girlfriends that were creation-level deities. In this world, everything develops according to its own rules. Imagine the guidance of Cassina the battle god mentor, and show a stronger self. Yun Shi, who was pushed into a desperate situation, had a determined flame burning in his eyes. He never gave up hope, no matter when. He never avoided facing any kind of opponent or his own fears. To achieve his own sense of justice, he would do anything, maybe not that extreme. All these important things were taught to Yun Shi by Yun Kei, based on her experience in the battlefield of the water god's world. Imagine what Hua Hua would do if she faced this situation. She would probably just swing her powerful Dragon Emperor sword and cut through all confusion and fear, crushing everything beneath her blade. She could even shatter and bring down the stars in the sky. That's Hua Hua's style. Yun Shi doesn't have that kind of ability yet. He's not even a proper hero-ranked fighter. Well, comparing him to Hua Hua. So, what should he do? Without any hesitation, Yun Shi activated the power of the battle god seed within his own body. The opponent's attacks were only at the hero-ranked level, but they were much more complicated and intensive. If he couldn't surpass even this kind of trial, then he could only wait for death from the pursuit of his former girlfriend's apostles. I will win. Defeat the opponent. Even if he couldn't use the divine sword technique, he would still unleash his power to the limit and attempt to challenge the hidden trial. Activate the solid body. Activate the flexible body. Originally unable to switch completely, the 2 extraordinary constitutions, which could only display partial characteristics, finally began to merge under the barrage of bullets from the insect princess, and were simultaneously displayed by Yun Shi. With his feet firmly on the ground, he became the lord of the mountains, and no one could knock him down. With a sword in his hand, he could control everything, acting gently and without competition. Countless red and blue dots stopped at the edge of the circle formed by Yunshi swinging his mist ghost sword. But this time, instead of being sliced apart or immediately reflected back, they were absorbed by this seemingly small circle, only about 2 meters in size. This is the effect of flexibility, briefly halting the endless barrage of attacks and using the force of the bullets themselves to absorb their own attacks, turning their power against them. Unlike the teacher who never used his own divine sword in battle, Yunshi, who grew up with his childhood sweetheart and became a swordsman, has found a fighting style that suits him. The power of rigidity and the power of flexibility both stem from the most basic talents, constantly refined and eventually evolving into divine talents. All the divine sword techniques are derived from the foundation of swordsmanship. After the foundation of swordsmanship comes the field of divine sword techniques. What Yunshi is currently displaying is a sword technique that only he, possessing 2 divine talents, can use. Yunshi used his flexible body to absorb the power of the opponent's bullets, then when it reached its limit, he unleashed the power of his rigid body and returned all the bullets at once. In just a few seconds, how many bullets did Yunshi endure? Millions, tens of millions, or billions? As the leader be transformed into the Crimson Stance, he showered Yunshi with the most malicious barrage of bullets. This move is Yunshi's exclusive sword style, Gigabit Wings. A sword style specifically designed to counter bullet attacks, it reflects all the bullets. Chapter 953, The Carnival of Bullets. This is the first time Yunshi relied solely on his own power to develop a sword style based on his understanding of swordsmanship and his own body. Gigabit Wings, a sword forced out by the endless barrage of bullets from the Crimson Leader B, is Yunshi's first exclusive sword style. The power of this move depends on the opponent's attack and has 2 stages. The first stage forms a circular sword curtain using a flexible body. The more frequently and densely the enemy attacks, the more power the Gigabit Wings first stage absorbs from the formed ring, making it stronger. When the power reaches the critical point that Yunshi's body can bear, it erupts like a volcano that finally unleashes the power of moving tectonic plates, unstoppable. The second stage is a mindless counterattack of the rigid body. In an instant, all the power of millions and billions of bullets absorbed by the sword barrier of the ring is released. The Crystal Bee army under the control of the Crimson Leader B can unleash a barrage attack of millions per second without interruption. The power released by Yunshi's Gigabit Wings in 1 second is more than 10 times that of the opponent, and this number can continue to increase without limit as Yunshi's physical fitness increases. The meaning of a gigabit is infinite. The stronger the enemy, the stronger the counterattack. An eye for an eye. A tooth for a tooth. Since there is no way to avoid it, then let's return it all. Yunshi, a young man, had just created a special sword technique called the Bullet Curtain, which symbolizes endless wings. At this moment, the system that returns all bullets activated. The Gigabit Wings unfolded, resembling the shadow of Yunhai's Quadrant Sword and the Sky-Flying Sword. Combined with the extraordinary physical and flexible body of a hero-ranked individual, Yunshi had accomplished a miraculous feat, although he didn't fully understand the significance of this step yet. In Xiao Ling's eyes, it seemed as if Yunshi had a pair of wings unfurling behind him, turning into illusions and disappearing. Like a dream, like a fantasy, like bubbles, like shadows, like dew, like lightning. Those were the shadows of divine swords. Perhaps they were still in their infancy, but Yunshi had undeniably embarked on his own path to become the Sky Sword. For the first time, Xiao Ling started to doubt whether the man before her was truly a swordsman from the Ghost Sword domain. Did the Ghost Sword domain possess such magnificent and dazzling sword techniques? Why did she, who was familiar with the various sword techniques of the Sky Sword God's domain, know nothing about this? The wings that constantly appear and disappear are so beautiful. They make people feel like they are immersed in an art piece. The red and blue dots, which return 10 times stronger, effortlessly suppressed the attack of the Crystal Bee army and repelled their unstoppable Crystal Bee storm. One after another, the Crystal Bees were hit by an unstoppable barrage of bullets, thousands of them falling from the sky. Using bullets to counter bullets, this is the method that Yunshi discovered. It is not like the typical thinking of a swordsman. Unlike Yunke, who plans everything perfectly before battle, Yunshi cannot. He cannot focus on every detail to such precision. Yunshi excels at using his imagination to turn the impossible into possible, especially in combat. Gigabit Wings is the ultimate manifestation of Yunshi's vibrant imagination. Buzz! 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 After just one counterattack from Gigabit Wings, the army of Crystal Bees under the command of the Crimson Leader Bee was defeated, numbering in the tens of thousands. Amidst countless twinkling lights, the Crimson Leader Bee, perched atop the Crystal Bee nest like a queen, began to display even more madness. More Crystal Bees poured out from the immense Crystal Bee nest, responding to the Leader Bee's commanding gestures, dancing alongside it. The faint feeling that Yunshi had sensed earlier, which did not belong to the Endless God's domains, became even clearer. The sealed Crystal Creek Valley began to exhibit unstable and twisting phenomena. Cracks became visible on the impassable barriers on both sides. This time, an army of over 1 million Crystal Bees appeared. Like a final trial before death, the enraged Leader Bee began its most chaotic barrage of revenge. Like endless swirling stardust, countless projectiles rained down upon Yunshi at a rate of millions per second. This is probably a powerful barrage that even a hero-ranked expert at the 5th rank would run away from. If it had been the princess of the Great Xia and the prince who encountered this barrage attack a while ago, they probably wouldn't even have a complete body left. However, this time the Leader Bee's barrage encountered a natural enemy. Using his imagination and his special abilities, Yunshi successfully performed his first exclusive sword technique. He has begun to adapt to this type of barrage attack. Gigabit Wings is the answer he has given to this cruel hidden trial. First, he followed the opponent's rhythm and wielded his sword to create a circle. Although the speed of the opponent's barrage increased several times, the individual bee sting attacks still remained at the 3rd rank, not exceeding Yunshi's limit. The barrage attack of 10 million times per second only reduced the charging time for Yunshi's Gigabit Wings circle from 10 seconds to 5 seconds, which is still far from reaching Yunshi's limit. The special ability of Gigabit Wings allows Yunshi to enter a brief invincible stage by forming a circle, absorbing the opponent's bullets as his own power. After 5 seconds, Xiao Ling sees the wings behind Yunshi constantly appearing and disappearing, creating a dazzling and magnificent bullet curtain. All bullets, return. As many as you come, I will send back the same amount. By absorbing more and larger bullet attacks and releasing them, Yunshi is not afraid of this cruel barrage, unless the Crimson Leader Bee increases its attack frequency to billions per second. It can break through his defense while using Gigabit Wings. As long as the circle can withstand the bullet attacks, even if the invincible time is only 1 second, Yunshi can avoid any harm in the countless unsolvable barrage. The special ability of Gigabit Wings is truly miraculous and unbelievable. The more bullets the Leader Bee releases, the crazier it gets, and Yunshi's Gigabit Wings become stronger, like a carnival of bullets. No need to lock onto opponents, the Leader Bee's barrage was so devastating that it returned with an endless shower of dazzling light bullets. With this wave of Gigabit Wings, over 500,000 Crystal Bees were instantly shattered, triggering a special settings of this hidden trial. Ding! 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 Hundreds and thousands of gems fell, as the prince and princess of the Great Xia reached the critical point of 100,000 kills, but not a single precious gem fell. Now, in the sky of Crystal Creek Valley, they filled the air, only to be absorbed by Yunshi. This is a special reward that can only be triggered by achieving the 500,000 kills challenge once, a commendation for Yunxi's perfect answer. Chapter 954. Defeating the leader B. All the flying gems were counted as Yunxi's spoils of war, acquired by him. On the very first day of Gigabit Wing's birth, Yunxi achieved a magnificent victory. The angry leader B continued to control its army of crystal bees. There were over 8 million troops in the hive that it could use. However, the outcome had already been decided. From the moment Yunxi, a brave man, understood the power of Gigabit Wings, the scales of victory had already tipped in his favor, even if there was a golden balance of victories between the twin witches. For the hero-ranked leader B, who was weakest in a certain sense when it came to bullet attacks, Yunxi was its natural enemy. The endless rotation of bullets, which made Xiaoling's heart pound, was like a stage specially prepared for Yunxi, allowing his ever-changing Gigabit Wings to take the spotlight in the endless gods' domains for the first time. In the first round, Gigabit Wings eliminated over 100,000 crystal bees. In the second round, Gigabit Wings eliminated over 500,000 crystal bees. In the third round, Gigabit Wings eliminated over 600,000 crystal bees. Compared to the predecessor, Yunhai the Sky Sword, who killed the crystal bees one by one, Yunxi faced a stronger army of crystal bees controlled by the leader bee, but he handed in a more perfect answer. In the 15th round, Gigabit Wings defeated the entire army of crystal bees. During this battle, Yunxi triggered special rewards more than 10 times in a row and obtained 9,999 gems to strengthen his weapons, reaching the maximum reward limit for the White Lotus secret treasure in Crystal Creek Valley Trial. In other words, Yunxi obtained all the reward gems in Crystal Creek Valley. Even with Yunxi's super physique, it was still quite difficult to endure the 15th round of Gigabit Wings, and there was very little energy left in the Battle God Seed. But the result was glorious. The final barrage attack launched by the increasingly insane leader B reached a level of utter madness. It seemed like the red leader B realized its impending demise and performed its most brilliant and dazzling dance. Yunxi, too, responded with his most spectacular and awe-inspiring barrage counterattack under the shining light of Gigabit Wings. Under the dominance of the red leader B, the million-strong army was nearly wiped out, with the number of eliminated bees even surpassing the upper limit of Crystal Creek Valley, which is 10 million. Unable to find any remaining crystal bee nests, there was only one red bee left, teetering on the edge of disappearance at any moment. The scenery of Crystal Creek Valley, distorted by a terrifying force from beyond the endless gods' domains, began to gradually crumble. The crystal barrier that restricted Yunxi's mobility collapsed, leaving him to face an endless barrage of projectiles. As a result, the entire crystal bee nest began to self-destruct because the core supporting it had long reached the point of exhaustion. The endless and magnificent barrage festival has exhausted all the power of this crystal bee's nest. Buzz. 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 Only a lonely crimson leader bee remains, still flying and playing the symphony of wild bees. However, its life fire has long been extinguished. Now, what is flying is just a body following the final will of the dead leader bee, attempting to complete this symphony. Yunxi puts away his mist ghost sword and walks up to the crimson leader bee that is still flying even after death. He gently reaches out his hand to grab this leader bee, which is smaller than the usual crystal bee in size. Very light, almost weightless. It's hard to imagine that such a small crimson bee can release the overwhelming and despair-inducing barrage attack they just witnessed. The battle has ended. Rest in peace. You are strong. Simple words, but they are Yunxi's respect for this leader bee. Burning all of its life, playing the most magnificent barrage melody, this leader bee has done everything it could do. As a hidden level in Crystal Creek Valley's trial, it is truly worthy. Buzz. After enduring countless years of time, the deceased crimson leader bee turned into a sparkly red amber gem and fell into the palm of Yunxi's hand. Through this deep red gem still radiating a hint of warmth, Yunxi could vaguely feel a power that didn't belong to the endless god's domains. Insect Princess, Crimson Bee, that is the name or code that appeared in Yunxi's mind. Giving this crimson leader bee the power of the barrage, the main culprit that raised the difficulty of Crystal Creek Valley's trial. However, the power remaining in this red amber gem has almost completely disappeared. Perhaps that insect princess, Crimson Bee, wouldn't even know what happened here. Yunxi believed this, so he kept the red amber as his own trophy. You won. Yunke. Even though Xiaoling saw everything from the beginning to the end, she still couldn't believe that Yunxi had really defeated this army of millions of crystal bees. Even if she and her brother Xia Jie gathered the forces of the entire Great Xia dynasty, it would still require a great sacrifice to complete this trial. Perhaps in the end, only she and her brother would survive. The leader bee's barrage of attacks in the final stage had reached a level that made her tremble just by looking at it. But Yunxi somehow emerged completely unscathed. That mysterious and miraculous sword technique made him appear so calm and graceful amidst the endless barrage. He effortlessly broke through the circle of bee stingers within a mere 2 meters without even a scratch. Yes, there will be 1 million kills for the crystal grass spirit next, and 500,000 kills for the big grass spirit, nodded Yunxi. He didn't expect that in this trial of Crystal Creek Valley, the highest difficulty was not the individual strength of the crystal grass spirit and the big grass spirit, but rather the seemingly weakest crystal bee. This triggered a hidden setting, giving birth to a legion of leader bees among the crystal bees, truly formidable enemies. If he hadn't comprehended his exclusive sword style, Gigabit Wings, under the relentless barrage of bullets, he might have had to fight and retreat with Xiaoling, relying on the Dragon Palace city of the Great Xia dynasty to engage in a protracted battle with this terrifying Crystal Bee Legion. Fortunately, the problem was solved. He felt that his swordsmanship had improved slightly, but it still paled in comparison to the divine sword technique. After all, Yunxi's understanding was simple. Basic sword techniques are followed by divine sword techniques. With you here, it's not just a simple matter. Why are you so strong, yet you still join my team? Xiaoling looked at Yunxi, who had just finished killing 10 million crystal bees, unwillingly. Humans, how could they have the constitution to absorb such crazy barrages and return all the bullets at once? There is only one truth. This monster is just like Hua Hua. Chapter 955, Strengthening System. It's not enough. Yunxi said indifferently, fitting his aloof image. Even so, is it still not enough? Xiaoling couldn't help but feel that the Yunke in front of her, even without the treasure of the White Lotus, was still an exceptional monster among monsters. Such a constitution is definitely inhuman. It should be said that, as long as one is human, they would never possess such a physique. With their own strength, they can withstand attacks from millions of bullets per second. Even someone of the 4th rank would have been blown up long ago. Even Xia Jie, who wears the black flame dragon armor, wouldn't dare to do such a thing. Being aloof is so useful, quietness is good. You monsters, each and every one of you. Xiaoling lowered her head and sighed. Soon, she lifted her head. Being affected is natural. As someone who has always been called a prodigy in the way of the sword, she once again saw monsters among her peers completely surpassing her. Now, there are only 2 names on that list. Hua Hua. Yunke. But the realization she gained in the heart-asking cabin made her understand that no matter how difficult the obstacles in front of her were, they were challenges she had to surpass. Giving up just because her opponents are stronger. That's not the style of the princess of the Great Xia. Her twin dragon sword is trembling, the spirit of the dragon within the sword eagerly emanating, producing a pleasant sound of swords clashing. She wants to fight. She wants to display her swordsmanship like Yun-Kei in front of her and step onto a higher field. She wants to become the sky sword. Next, leave it to me. Xiao Ling proudly pulled out her twin dragon sword from behind and charged deeper into Crystal Creek Valley. The army of crystal bees has already been wiped out, but there are still quite a number of crystal grass spirits, and new ones continue to appear. She wants to prove that she is definitely not a burden. The roar of dragons sounded, and a green dragon soared into the sky. Together with Xiao Ling, they fought their way into the army of crystal grass spirits, unleashing a fierce attack. There is no doubt about her words. Yun-Shi can feel the vibrant energy emanating from Xiao Ling. After passing through the life and death barrier, her sword skills have indeed improved, and the green dragon spirit has become more lively than ever. That is another type of sword technique called field that Yun-Shi is not familiar with. It seems to be related to the dragon veins of the Great Xia dynasty and can be said to be a top-level sword skill exclusive to the royal family of the Great Xia. She, perhaps, is the princess chosen by the power of the dragon veins. Yun-Shi, who once possessed the power of 4 zakas, can clearly feel the blessed aura of the true dragon. The feeling coming from that Xia Jia is completely different. It's more like he's been possessed rather than blessed. His black flame dragon armor doesn't look like a blessed god weapon at all. It always emits a cursed aura. Thinking of the black flame dragon armor, Yun-Shi remembers that he also obtained 9,999 gemstones used to strengthen weapons. The name of this crystal is Illusory Green Crystal. These are special strengthening gemstones for the White Lotus trial. They can be used to enhance any weapon, but the effects are only limited to the use of the White Lotus secret treasure trial. The level of the White Lotus imprint determines the enhancement effect. With each level upgrade, more gemstones are needed and the enhancement effect becomes stronger. This rule is very similar to the enhancement rule in the Star trial, but it only applies to weapons and specifies that the only material for enhancement is the illusory green crystal, not the gemstone shards that Yun-Shi once used to enhance weapons. Yun-Shi couldn't help but notice that the rules of this White Lotus secret treasure trial are quite similar to the Star Wings trial. So, let's try to strengthen the weapon. Looking left and right, Yun-Shi quietly summoned his own unique god weapon, while the princess of the Great Xia was busy killing the crystal grass spirits. In the memories of the Star Wings, there are 3 divine swords located at the top of the starry sky. The bonfires showed no response, not even an option for strengthening. The god weapon's level is too high for strengthening, was the final message that appeared. Oh, so the Star Wings can't be strengthened. Yun-Shi felt disappointed, thinking that even the powerful god weapon could be enhanced by the bonfire in the White Lotus secret treasure. Since the Star Wings can't be strengthened, the only option left is. Yun-Shi looked at his Mist Ghost sword, which was originally a disguise as a temporary god weapon. He decided to use it to test the enhancement data of this trial from the White Lotus secret treasure. Anyway, after the trial of the White Lotus secret treasure ends, the enhancement will naturally disappear. Unlike the Star Wings, which couldn't be enhanced by the bonfire, Yun-Shi placed the Mist Ghost sword on the bonfire and soon saw options for enhancement. It was similar to the enhancements he had done in the previous trial with the Star Wings. As long as corresponding gems were consumed and placed in the bonfire, the weapon would naturally get stronger. Moreover, because Yun-Shi possessed the highest level White Lotus imprint, all the enhancement data would be the highest. In the normal enhancement stages, the first to third levels were guaranteed to be successful, but the enhancement data would fluctuate between increasing attack power by 1 to 3. The required illusion green crystals for enhancement were 1, 5, and 10 respectively. Yun-Shi, a young man, threw 16 green gemstones at the Mist Ghost sword, instantly enhancing its power by 3 points. Starting from the fourth enhancement, the numbers fluctuated even more, with the attack power ranging from 3 to 9. The number of gemstones required also changed to 20, 50, and 100. However, the success rate remained 100%. The higher the enhancement level, the greater the increase in attack power. After smashing 170 illusory green crystals, Yunshi obtained a enhancement level 6 Mist Ghost Sword, with its attack power now at 36 points. Don't underestimate the 36 points of attack power. Yunshi conducted an experiment and found that after the level 6 enhancement, the Mist Ghost Sword's attack power increased by a remarkable 1/10. This is a significant improvement in the attack power of a god weapon. Even though this enhancement system from the bonfire only works in the world of White Lotus Secret Treasure, it is truly extraordinary. After the level 6 enhancement, even more terrifying options appeared. Strengthening to +7 instantly increases the minimum damage number to 20, and the maximum is 60. You will need 300 virtual green crystals as a cost. At the same time, starting from here, there will be a chance of failure in the strengthening process, and the punishment for failure will be more terrifying. Yes, starting from +7, the weapon might be downgraded, and it will go down by 2 levels at once. In other words, there are 3 possibilities for the strengthening process starting from +7, resulting in 3 different outcomes: higher, medium, and lower. If the strengthening is successful, it will bring great fortune. If the strengthening fails, it will just be a false alarm. If the strengthening is downgraded, please start from the beginning. What? There is also a punishment of downgrading. Chapter 956, Falling into the Trap. Looking at those instructions, Yunshi could already imagine the frustration of the trialists who had finally gathered hundreds of illusory green crystals and worked so hard to strengthen their weapons to level 6, only to come across this line of text. And from level 7 onwards, the success rate of enhancement isn't even displayed anymore, clearly indicating some shady operations. Where did this bonfire learn such a deceitful system? Did it also deceive Yunhai the Sky Sword in the past? First of all, let's give it a try. After all, the opportunity to increase the maximum damage limit by 60 points with just one enhancement is quite tempting. Plus, the damage boost at level 7 is already quite significant, making one eagerly anticipate what level 8 will bring. I wonder what the upper limit of this enhancement system is. Judging by the increasing consumption of enhancement stones, it might not even be enough with 9,999 crystals. As 300 illusory green crystals were thrown in, Yunshi seemed to hear the sound of numerous gems being devoured by the bonfire. Ding! 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 Unlike the previous 6 successful enhancements, this time a hammer symbol appeared on the bonfire. After hitting it for a while, there was a light, snap sound. The moment Yunshi heard this sound, he had a sense of foreboding. Enhancement failed. 300 virtual green crystals instantly disappeared, and the Mist Ghost Sword seemed to look at Yunshi innocently, indicating that it wasn't its fault. Oh no! Yunshi wiped the sweat off his forehead. This was something he hadn't encountered in the star trials before. It turns out that after enhancing to level 7, enhancing weapons and equipment could fail. All his hard-earned enhancement gems disappeared in an instant. This feeling was truly disheartening. Enhance again. In order to prove himself, Yunshi, without hesitation, once again invested 300 virtual green crystals. With plenty of enhancement gems in hand, Yunshi had a showdown with this incomplete version of the bonfire's enhancement system. Ding! 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 The imaginary hammer struck Mist Ghost Sword in the void, making a clear and pleasant sound. After a while of striking, there was a snap sound. Oh my! Yunshi covered his eyes, knowing the result just from that sound. Enhancement failed. If there was a blacksmith inside the bonfire, Yunshi would have wished to draw his sword and kill him. I don't believe it. Yunshi held his breath as he smashed in 300 illusory green crystals, his eyes fixed on the hammer in the void, which had started to move. Ding! 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 The hammer in the void struck Mist Ghost Sword leisurely, and a large number of green light spots scattered. There's hope this time, it looks very promising. With a loud crack, reality mercilessly mocked Yunshi's confidence, as if placing a dark label on his head. Let's try again. Yunshi, feeling frustrated, thought that his strengthening stance must be wrong. It was just a level 7, it shouldn't be this difficult. But sometimes, that's just how challenging it is. The hammer in the void leisurely pounded, each strike felt like it was hitting Yunshi's heart. Ding! 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 Crash! This time, it wasn't the usual sound of failure that followed the strengthening process, but something even more infuriating for Yunshi. The Mist Ghost Sword within the bonfire lost its radiance, and the additional patterns on the blade instantly shattered. Strengthening failed, weapon downgraded. From level 6, it dropped all the way down to level 4 in one go. Yunshi felt like flipping the table. What kind of cursed strengthening system was this? Thousands of shimmering green crystals were thrown down, but it only resulted in a downgrade. It was unbearable. This happened because Yunshi, a brave man, had collected nearly all the hidden level rewards in the White Lotus Valley using his gigabit wings. Other adventurers who tried to earn the green crystals with their lives would have had a heart attack by now. The enhancement effect of real damage was indeed tempting, but the damn cost of failed enhancement was ridiculously cruel. Even Yunshi, who had conquered the hidden levels, only had a meager total of 9,999 green crystals. Now it seemed completely insufficient. Give me more. Yunshi gritted his teeth as he watched his Mist Ghost Sword being thrown into the bonfire by himself. He continued to smash the crystals. The enhancement system before the update was still reliable. After smashing over 100 green crystals, Yunshi's enhancement level returned to 7. This time, Yunshi took a deep breath, boosting his spirit to the extreme, even though it was of no use at all. Add 7. Another 300 imaginary green crystals went in, and Yunshi could visibly see his pocket shrinking at a fast speed. Ding! 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 Once again, there was a crack, causing Yunshi to hold his head. Oh my, what are the chances of enhancement? Just adding 7 and already feeling like this. What about adding 8, adding 9, and so on? It's going to be hell. No, I can't be defeated here. It's just an enhancement system, right? He has already overcome the hidden level of Crystal Creek Valley. How can he lose to this little enhancement? Closing his eyes, Yunshi once again smashed 300 imaginary green crystals. This time, he didn't even bother to look at the hammer representing them. A calm heart brings a cool feeling. There's no need to care too much about the result of the enhancement. After all, it's only a system used in the trial of the White Lotus secret treasure. The bonfire of the magnificent star system must be different. Oh. Failure and enhancement and such things absolutely don't exist, right? Ding! 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 The familiar yet unfamiliar sound of Yunshi rang out in the usual 3-tone cycle. Ding! The fourth sound was not the sound of failed strengthening materials disappearing with a snap, nor was it the sound of a nightmare-like downgrade with a clang. It was a clear and pleasant ding. Could it be? Yunshi cautiously opened his eyes and glanced at the Mist Ghost Sword in the bonfire. It was glowing. After being enhanced to level 7, the Mist Ghost Sword clearly leveled up, emitting a spiritual light similar to the twin dragon sword of the Princess of the Great Xia, and displaying a clear and transparent color. This is a successful enhancement. It gained a substantial 60-point increase in actual damage, and its material even upgraded. In this moment, Yunshi felt that all the setbacks from before were worth it. The current Mist Ghost Sword clearly possessed some attributes of a real god weapon. If a god weapon had been placed in there, it would probably have received a similar upgrade after reaching level 7, gaining the support of the White Lotus Secret Treasure Trial. Chapter 957, Special Enhancement. Yunshi looked at the options for the next stage of enhancement and held his breath. He had a feeling that he was about to be tricked. It was a tempting offer that one couldn't resist, despite the fact that it could lead to trouble. The bonfire enhancement system was completely trustworthy. The effects of enhancing to +8 were clearly displayed. Yunshi didn't know what kind of enhancement effect other god weapons would have when thrown into the bonfire, but it was obvious that the +8 enhancement effect was the most suitable for the Mist Ghost Sword. Real damage, lower limit increased by 50 points, upper limit increased by 120 points. Since Yunshi possessed the highest level White Lotus Secret Treasure Mark, it meant that he would always obtain the highest upper limit points. But in this case, Yunshi, who had been deceived by the enhancement system, wouldn't lose control of himself. The problem is the second effect. This is the first time Yunshi has seen such extraordinary power with an additional effect. Vacuum Blade. With a swing of the sword, it can tear through the air and create a special ability for vacuum cutting, without requiring any extra spiritual power. Death is like the wind, always by my side, never lingering in one place for too long. This is the extraordinary power equivalent to the 4th rank of magic in the Western Gods domain. The problem is that whether it's a witch or a mage using this magic, they need to pay a magic cost. And the additional effect of the bonfire system being enhanced to 8 is unlimited usage without any consumption. This is the first time Yunshi, apart from his own star wings, has seen the effect of a god weapon that allows him to endlessly use extraordinary abilities. Compared to the uncontrollable star wings, which gives Yunshi a heart-pounding feeling every time he uses it, the special abilities of the Mist Ghost Sword after being enhanced to 8 are really tempting. No matter if we consider the range of attack or the characteristics, Mist Ghost Sword, which possesses the ability of Vacuum Blade, can be considered as a smaller version of the Star Wings. Of course, that's not taking into account the power of the Star Wings after it's unsealed. Anyway, the rewards from the trial of the White Lotus Secret Treasure can't be taken out of here, so let's take a gamble. Looking at the gemstone consumption required to strengthen it to level 8, Yunshi suddenly felt that the 9,999 illusory green crystals he obtained this time were not enough at all. 1,000 crystals, that's the price to strengthen Mist Ghost Sword to level 8, and there is absolutely no guarantee of success. Let's go. Believe in yourself, believe in your golden hand. Ding. 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 Phew, not bad harvest. Controlling her green dragon spirit, Xiao Ling floated out from the transformed Crystal Creek Valley with satisfaction. After going through life and death trials, she made great progress in understanding the art of turning a sword into a spirit. The summoning technique that could only be used once before can now be maintained for a short period of time. The green dragon spirit became her protector, helping her fight her way through thousands of crystal grass spirits without disappearing. Estimating roughly, she can control the green dragon spirit for about 15 minutes when she activates the sword transformation technique. Even though the dragon's power decreases after the initial burst, it is still her strongest weapon. At least now she is a little closer to those monsters. Her killing value has exceeded 100,000 and she has obtained over 3 digits of crystal drops. Compared to the army of crystal bees, which numbers over 10 million, the individual strength of the more powerful crystal grass spirits is slightly stronger. The drop rate for strengthening crystals is also not bad. Now Xiao Ling can be considered eligible to activate the strengthening system. However, when Xiao Ling returned to the bonfire, she found Yunxi, who always had a cold expression, staring blankly at the silently burning bonfire with a contemplative look on his face. The long and slender mist ghost sword was inserted into the bonfire, emitting an extraordinary light, showing that it had leveled up. However, why did he look so devastated despite the fact that the mist ghost sword had been strengthened? To strengthen to level 7, it requires 300 crystals. Xiao Ling curiously looked at the numbers displayed in the bonfire. She only had a little over 100 crystals, so she was still far from reaching this stage of strengthening. Yeah, to strengthen to level 7. Yunxi had a dreamy look on his face. Currently, the displayed strengthening level on the mist ghost sword is +6. Yunxi felt like he had encountered a fake power-enhancing system. Why did his over 8,000 imaginary green crystals disappear without him noticing? In his mind, there were only the continuous sounds of ding, 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 and the repeated sounds of a crack, crack, crack. Finally, there was a heartbreaking swoosh. I'm done for. Wah. Yunxi thought this was the biggest setback he had faced since entering the White Lotus secret treasure trial. This cursed power-enhancing system is just too dangerous. Over 8,000 imaginary green crystals vanished into thin air, turned into dust. He felt a great sense of frustration, even starting to doubt his ability to enhance himself. Could there be some special technique to this power enhancing? Well, I'll give it a try too, Xiao Ling said as she also put her twin dragon sword inside. The enhancement level increased by 1 and 2 successfully, using up all the enhancement gems she had obtained, which made Xiao Ling very satisfied. This enhancement system is really powerful, it actually increases the true damage that ignores defense. Xiao Ling took out her enhanced twin dragon sword and swung it to feel the changes. Reaching the level of a god weapon, it was extremely difficult to strengthen and upgrade. Like the twin dragon sword, it was a Da Xia inheritance god weapon nurtured by the great Xia's dragon veins. Without a great opportunity, it was almost impossible to increase its power. To make the power of a god weapon stronger, most of the time it required the increase in strength of the god weapon's owner. Being able to enhance the power of a god weapon just by consuming gems like now, it was simply too good to be true. Can I give it a try? Seeing Xiao Ling's excited expression, Yunxi had an impulsive thought. Just give it a try. I've already dropped down to level 6, so it can't get any worse. How about helping me strengthen it? Okay, Yunxi said happily. Xiao Ling had no idea yet about the terrifying aspects of this strengthening system. Yunxi handed over the remaining 1,000 illusion crystals to Xiao Ling and asked her to hold his hand and close her eyes, waiting for a result. Ding! 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 8 consecutive clear and crisp sounds echoed. Xiao Ling opened her eyes wide and was stunned by the extraordinary effect of the mist ghost sword after being strengthened 8 times. I never knew it could be like this. The vacuum blade even has no consumption. Yunxi looked at the successful strengthening of the princess of the Great Xia without any failures and felt it deeply once again. People truly are different from each other. Was this darn strengthening system trying to mess with him? Or, does this bonfire's strengthening system have special bonuses for women? Chapter 958, Sibling Reunion. Thank you, these are all for you as a reward. After much deliberation, Yunxi decided to conduct an experiment. After strengthening the mist ghost sword to level 8, it once again displayed the next stage of strengthening effects and the required materials. Strengthening once with 3,000 illusory crystals. Increase in minimum real damage by 100 points, and maximum by 240 points. Extraordinary power effect 1, vacuum blade level increased. Extraordinary Power Effect 2, added freezing effect, especially effective against fire monsters. Extraordinary Power Effect 3, added shadowless steps, increasing movement speed by 30%. All of them seem so captivating. This is the madness of the strengthening system. Judging from the strengthening effects that have appeared so far, the effects of the 9th and 10th upgrades are simply unimaginable. Even Yun-Shi, who possessed the star wings, would be enchanted. One can only imagine how crazed the others who want to enhance their god weapon power would be. So many gems, but I can't take them, Xiao Ling shook her head. The chances of strengthening gems appearing were few. After killing nearly 100,000 monsters, she only managed to collect over 100 gems. It was impossible for her to challenge the crystal bee like Yun-Shi did, slaying thousands. She didn't have the courage for that kind of suicide mission. Consider it a debt from you to me. Just give me something of equal value after the trial is over. Yun-Shi lied naturally, but it was a lie that wouldn't be exposed. After the trial of the White Lotus secret treasure, Yun-Kei would cease to exist, and there would be no need for the princess of the Great Xia to repay the debt. All right. Xiao Ling believed it to be true. This was a fair exchange, as it should be. And because she was serious by nature, she decided to give Yun-Kei treasures worth more than 10 times its value as a repayment. There were two kinds of treasures in this peaceful world, treasures that were valuable and treasures that could enhance one's fighting abilities in this brutal trial. It was not an exaggeration to calculate their worth as 10 times their value. Xiao Ling was a genius who was serious and hardworking. With hundreds of virtual green crystals borrowed from Yun-Shi, Xiao Ling quickly strengthened her twin dragon sword to its critical point. The next step was to go from quantity to quality. When Xiao Ling saw the light that appeared after Yun-Shi strengthened his Mist Ghost sword from 6 to 7, it was undoubtedly a qualitative leap. In terms of numerical value, starting from +7, the strengthening system became increasingly crazy, with each increase in value making one's heart race, and even special additional effects would appear. The extraordinary power that appeared after strengthening to +8 with the Mist Ghost sword appeared earlier with the Twin Dragon sword, which had better materials. Just like how the special enhancement of the Mist Ghost sword was tailor-made for this sword, the Twin Dragon sword, with its extraordinary material, was also enhanced to +7, which made Xiao Ling really excited. It cost her 300 illusory green crystals. The enhancement effect was to increase the minimum damage by 20 points and the maximum damage by 60 points. The extraordinary power attached to it was to increase the time of dragon spirit domination by 30%. For someone skilled in the art of turning a sword into a spirit, this extraordinary additional effect was amazing. It was so good that she didn't even bother reading the special instructions for +7 and directly smashed in the 300 illusory green crystals. Anyway, enhancements aren't always 100% successful, right? She had successfully enhanced Yun-Kei's sword to +8 before, so enhancing it to +7 seemed easy. Well, that's what Yun-Shi thought at first too. Ding! 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 Splash! A strange sound echoed in Xiao Ling's ears as she stared blankly at her twin dragon sword, which now showed +4, not understanding what had just happened. Oh! 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 It turns out that even strengthening can fail. No, wait, it's not just a simple failure, it's actually a downgrade. She had worked so hard to enhance her twin dragon sword to +6, and now it dropped all the way down to +4. What's going on? Did she encounter a fake enhancement system? How can this be? It doesn't seem like there's any special treatment for women. Maybe it was just beginner's luck earlier. Too bad, there's not enough virtual green crystals left to continue testing. Yun-Shi patted the princess of the Great Xia on the shoulder, who stood there motionless. Don't be disheartened, if you got downgraded, you still have a chance to start over. No. No, please. Xiao Ling hugged her head, unable to accept the sudden fall from heaven to hell. Her +7 twin dragon sword, her control over the dragon spirit, all gone. Sob. Sob. It's not fair. Why was it so easy for Yunkei to enhance her sword to +7 and +8 without any failures? She started to strengthen herself by 7, without even failing once, she directly lost a level. Oh. Seeing Xiao Ling's despairing expression, Yunxi deeply empathized, because this was just like himself not long ago. Xiao Ling only lost a few hundred pieces of illusionary green crystals, but Yunxi had smashed over 8,000 of them into ashes. Ah, truly, strengthening can ruin one's life. Just as Yunxi was about to console Xiao Ling, a furious and desperate roar echoed from the entrance of Crystal Creek Valley. Release my sister, you sissy. In this world, there was only one person who could speak to Yunxi with such a tone. The destined son of the great Xia dynasty, the future Xia emperor, Crown Prince Xia Jia. Boom! The 12 black cavalry, with an imposing force to sweep everything away, escorted Xia Jia as they slaughtered the scattered crystal grass spirits and the big grass spirit, all the way to the edge of the bonfire. You deserve to die 1,000 times. Xia Jia, who was hot-tempered and caring towards his sister Xiao Ling, could tell from their current positions that something was terribly wrong, the worst possible situation. Look at the hazy and lost expression in his sister's eyes, as if she had lost the most precious thing to her. The smug and pitiful expression on this effeminate person's face. Anger. The anger meter of the great Xia Crown Prince instantly reached its maximum, and a fierce black dragon shadow appeared on the black flame dragon armor. Let her go. You're never allowed to get close to my sister in this lifetime. Xia Jia pulled out his dark great sword, his anger reaching uncontrollable levels. You despicable and wretched creature. Brother, you've misunderstood. He actually saved me. Xiao Ling stepped forward to defend herself. I know, because he saved you in the end, I won't kill him. Xia Jia felt like the epitome of a gentleman and couldn't believe he hadn't killed this damn effeminate person yet. If he had known, he would have taken action when this feminine-looking person came to join the great Xia team, unleashing the true power of the 12 black cavalry in advance. Now, everything might be too late. Wu, his sister, the shining pearl of the great Xia dynasty, might have. He couldn't even bear to think about it. Sometimes, things just happen that way. The more you try not to think in a bad direction, the worse it becomes. My affairs, it's not up to you, big brother. Xiao Ling's voice made Xia Jia black out and almost burst his blood vessels. It's over, it's over. What kind of confusion has this person put in his sister's mind? Chapter 959, Men should come. There is absolutely no way his sister would turn against them and speak up for someone else. A lonely man and a lonely woman, spending the night together. Coupled with the hazy look in his sister's eyes that he just witnessed, her expression full of sadness and yet having to endure something. You say there is no problem here. Who would believe that? Xia Jia could feel his anger rising, just like watching pigs stealing his cabbage. This is outrageous, I can't stand it. I can't bear it. If you are a man, then come with me and talk. Raising his dark great sword, Xia Jia pointed at Yunxi with a confused expression on his face. Stop pretending, I'm talking about you with a feminine voice. With that "what happened" expression on your face, are you really a woman? No, brother. Xiao Ling knew that Xia Jia must have misunderstood. Last night, even though nothing really happened, all those things Xia Jia imagined didn't actually occur. Yunkei is indeed a virtuous person. Sister, you shouldn't interfere in men's affairs. Xia Jia looked fiercely at Yun Shi, his black dragon soul faintly visible. All right. Yun Shi shrugged. Although he didn't know what tricks the great Xiao's crown prince was up to, he could honestly say he did nothing wrong. Great, at least he still has some courage. Xia Jia's mouth formed a wicked smile. This effeminate boy could never have imagined the immense power he gained after unlocking the true abilities of the 12 Black Cavalry. They say a lot can change in just 3 days, and he has undergone a complete transformation. Now, with the dragon's soul awakened within him, he can harness the full power of the 12 Black Cavalry, striking down gods and ghosts alike. Even if he were to face another onslaught of bullets like before, he could easily defend himself. The multiplication of his hero-ranked abilities by 12 is no joke. What's even more terrifying is that, in addition to the 12-fold increase, he now possesses even more powerful hidden cards. Effeminate boy, today I will show you why the flowers are so red. You shouldn't bully others just because there are more of you. Big brother shouldn't surround and attack with the 12 Black Cavalry. Sensing Xia Jie's intentions, Xia Ling stepped forward voluntarily to protect Yun Shi. You're fine, if you don't want to bring them, then don't bring them. Xia Jie looked at his sister with a heartbroken expression. Where had his independent and self-reliant little sister gone, who always called him Big Brother? Oh, his dear sister, is she really gone forever? It was all this effeminate boy's fault. Xia Jia vented all his anger onto Yun Shi, glaring at him with fury in his eyes. In a corner of Crystal Creek Valley, the wind blew coldly over the Easy River. Yun Shi looked at Xia Jia on the other side, feeling a palpable sense of naked hostility emanating from him. It was just too obvious, beyond mere hostility, to describe the current prince of the Great Xia. Actually, I didn't want things to turn out like this. I really want to be a good person, the perfect big brother in my little sister's eyes. Xia Jia reminisces, as if in a dream, about the little moments he shared with his sister, Xia Ling. As a member of the royal family in the Great Xia, Xia Jia is a descendant of the Sky Sword. Every generation produces various talents, and he is recognized as the Crown Prince and the heir to the Black Flame Dragon armor. Since he was very young, he has shown his remarkable abilities. With the support of his mother's clan, he easily became the designated Crown Prince. Being surrounded by flatterers, everyone praises and adores him, bowing down in front of the future emperor of the Great Xia. Only Xia Ling is different. She is his half-sister, but she never treats him any differently. She possesses a different world, a world she pursues that is higher and farther than that of the Great Xia Emperor. It is the legend that surpasses any dynasty or noble family, the Sky Sword. Even Xia Jie himself dared not take that path. As the heir of the Great Xia dynasty, he had to carry more burden and couldn't give up everything to pursue the way of the sword. But Xia Ling could. She never cared about her status as the princess of the Great Xia. She wholeheartedly immersed herself in the world of the sword. While the other princes and princesses were riding horses and practicing archery, having fun at the garden festival, she was practicing swordsmanship. When the other princes and princesses started to build their own influences and form little cliques, she was practicing swordsmanship. In the court of the Great Xia, where the princes and princesses of the royal kin were plotting against each other, she was practicing swordsmanship. Among all the princes and princesses of the Great Xia, only Xia Ling stood alone, never joining any group or doing anything to increase her influence. She even decided to come to the White Lotus Sword domain as a foreign student and became the chief disciple of the Sword Palace. She didn't listen to any commands from the Great Xia dynasty. And because of this, even though she was a princess of the Great Xia, Yunling didn't even have a single maid at the White Lotus Sword Palace and had to do everything herself. This was the kind of Yunling that Xia Jia was proud of. But, ever since you came, I realized that I can't be a good person. If I continue being a good person, my sister will be killed by you. To be honest, you are just a troublemaker among troublemakers. Xiao Jia, who had been pretending to shed fake tears like a fox in front of a dying tiger, finally spoke the truth. This person named Yun Kei, who acted feminine, was incredibly terrifying when it came to her charm as a woman. His proud and confident sister, who had always been that way, was now rebelling against him because of him. Such a person definitely couldn't be allowed to stay. They had to be dealt with swiftly and without hesitation. When have you ever acted like a good person? Yun Shi looked at Xiao Jia, whose true nature was fully revealed in front of him, with speechless eyes. Don't you know that the black dragon with its jaws wide open behind you had already betrayed you? He ran to this remote corner, with such a fierce expression that anyone could guess what he was up to. It was like a textbook-level villain performance. The name of the tyrant was weeping. Do you have any last words? Xiao Jia twisted his neck. Even if he had to face his sister's criticism or even a fight, he had to execute this abominable, effeminate person right here. In the name of the tyrant Xiao Jia, he would not tolerate someone betraying his sister and making her cry. If this effeminate person stayed by Xiao Ling's side for even a second longer, the situation would become even more serious. There was no more time to wait. Well, you won't die. Yun Shi's answer was simple and clear, indicating Xiao Jia's fate. This was an appreciation for Xiao Ling's help in strengthening him continuously. Of course, I won't die. Xiao Jia's face twisted with a distorted expression. He erupted with massive black flames, shouting angrily, because it's you who will die. Accept your punishment, Yun Kei. Chapter 960. The 6 strikes of returning swallow. A fierce black dragon shadow rose into the sky, swirling and descending upon Xiao Jia. Eek! Xiao Jia shouted, emitting a non-human-like roar. Compared to the last time, this black dragon shadow that appeared was even bigger, with dark scales that emitted a chilling black light. Perhaps in terms of spirituality, this black dragon shadow was far inferior to Xiao Ling's green dragon spirit, but in terms of sheer destructive power and cruelty, it far surpassed it. Xiao Ling's dragon spirit resembled an emerald gemstone, magnificent and noble, and its compatibility with Xiao Ling was 100%. Xiao Jia's dragon soul, on the other hand, was like burning black hellfire, fierce and unrestrained. The more Xiao Jia's anger grew, the stronger the power of the dragon's soul became. This is a comparison between two extremes, and if we talk about pure destructive power, it is without a doubt that Xiao Jia, who has the power of 12 black cavalry combined, is stronger. Firstly, it's triple. Xiao Jia felt the surging power in his body and activated the dragon soul, which triples his strength. With time flowing 10 times slower and the triple power boost from being hero ranked, he has already surpassed his limit in battle when he was at the Great Xiao's camp. Power stacking is not as simple as adding 1 plus 1. Just like reaching the speed limit, the difference between running 100 meters in 1 second and 50 meters in 1 second may seem like just one-fold, but someone who can run at 100 meters per second can easily defeat someone who can only run at 50 meters per second with a strength difference of over 10-fold. When reaching the limit, each breakthrough becomes incredibly difficult, so the killing value rewards offered by glory make the princess of the Great Xiao and the crown prince excited. In the same way, when Xiao Jia combines his hero-ranked strength 3 times, he can easily defeat himself when he's not in Dragon Soul mode using just one hand. You used to be fast, but now I'm even faster. Can you catch up to my speed now, sissy? Xiao Jia, who had suddenly tripled his strength, grinned confidently, and his figure split into 3. This speed was so fast that even human eyes couldn't recognize it, and with the enhancement of the Black Inferno power, it truly looked like there were 3 Xiao Jias appearing. Your insignificant tricks are nothing to me now. Ha ha ha, can you figure out which one is my real body now? After gaining unprecedented power, Xia Jie no longer sees Yunxi, who once defeated him, as a threat. The combination of triple hero-ranked power has pushed his physique beyond the limits of normal hero-ranked humans. Without the support of the great Xia's Dragon Pulse, he would not have been able to enter this field. This is what Xia Ling meant by monster, truly extraordinary and unstoppable. Now Xia Jie is confident that he can take on 10 of his past selves. With his speed and explosive power, he stands in an unbeatable position. Of course I can see it. Yunxi immediately locked onto Xia Jie, who was constantly shifting positions. The overwhelming killing intent was too obvious. Furthermore, why did Xia Jie think that his move was invisible to him? Compared to the highest speed barrages commanded by the leader B, this speed is like slow motion. Draw your sword. Death comes like the wind, always accompanying me but never staying for long. Vacuum blade, activate. The invisible slashing blade hit Xia Jie accurately as he continued to move around, leaving a deep sword mark on the black flame dragon armor. Great, both the power and range are satisfying. After experimenting with the attack trajectory and range of the vacuum blade, Yunxi expressed 200% satisfaction with the Mist Ghost Sword after being upgraded. In anyone's eyes, this is truly a god weapon now. The upgraded Mist Ghost Sword is so reliable and useful. No way. How could you see through my speed? I was clearly much faster. Xia Jie looked at the slowly healing sword mark on his chest in disbelief. The development of the battle was beyond his imagination. Why is this effeminate-looking person able to keep up with his speed and see through his true form at a glance? This is unrealistic. This is because I'm faster than you. In the camp of the great Xia dynasty, during the battle with Xia Jie, Yunxi did not reveal his true speed and strength. With the power of a strong body, the flexibility of a supple body, and the support of Cassina the battle god as his teacher and the battle god seed, his speed had already reached an unimaginable level for an ordinary person. Otherwise, at the critical moment, he wouldn't have been able to save Xia Ling from the barrage of the leader B. The limits of the human hero-ranked flesh and blood are not the limits of Hua Hua, not the limits of the twin witches, and certainly not the limits of Yunxi. The so-called extraordinary is like this, it can't be explained by common sense, and you can't even understand the strength of these monsters. In the process of chasing the monster, Hua Hua woman, Yunxi himself also turned into a monster. 5 times. Xia Jie's whole body made a crisp sound, it was the sound of the power loaded onto his body pressuring his flesh and blood. Even with the help of the great Xia's dragon vein to share the burden, the 5 times hero-ranked power still made his body feel heavy. Stepping on the hard ground with his feet, Xia Jie yelled and leaped into the air, performing a powerful strike for justice. Yunxi, just like Xia Jie, lightly tapped the ground with the tips of his toes. Having trained with the flying swallow sword, and even experienced the magnificence of the heavenly soaring divine sword, he found aerial combat techniques to be truly delightful. Returning swallow, 6 strikes in a row. Like a graceful antelope or a soaring swallow, the sword light flashed in the air, twice, 6 times in a row. Xia Jie, who had just gained 5 times the power of a hero-ranked warrior, couldn't even complete his powerful strike for justice before Yunxi, from the sky, shattered it. With the power of the vacuum blade, Yunxi's flying swallow sword had surpassed the limits of ordinary swordsmanship, becoming a truly extraordinary sword technique. The shining sword, even Xia Jie's strong black flame dragon armor couldn't withstand its attack. The sharpness of the invisible blades and Yunxi's aerial sword techniques were a perfect match. This was not a fair fight. Xia Jie, wearing heavy armor and making grand movements, could be a terrifying tyrant on the battlefield. But to Yunxi, who excelled in wielding his fast Yunhai's quadrant sword and the sky-flying sword, Xia Jia was like a big target. After the countless flying swallow swords disappeared, Xia Jia fell from the sky and created a giant hole several meters deep when he hit the hard ground in Crystal Creek Valley. Still alive, Yunshi said, poking Xia Jia's face with the tip of his sword. He was sure that this big guy had lost all ability to fight. Then, he grabbed the collar of Xia Jia's armor and dragged him towards the direction of the bonfire, like dragging a dead dog. Strange. Why does this feel a bit lighter? As Yunshi dragged Xia Jia away, he felt a little confused. The heavy armor looked really heavy, but when he actually tried to lift it, it felt surprisingly light. Chapter 961, The Meaning of Legend. Welcome back. Xiao Ling looked at Xia Jia, who was dragged back by Yunshi like a dead dog, and pressed her forehead in disbelief. She had no doubt about her own brother's defeat. Anyone who had witnessed Yunshi's display of the gigabit wings would not have any expectations of Xia Jia's victory. It was not a match of the same level, and she couldn't even determine the power level of Yunshi. Is he at the 4th rank of hero ranked, the 5th rank, or even higher? Unlike the 3rd rank of ordinary humans, it was extremely difficult for hero-ranked individuals to challenge higher ranks. The power difference between the 4th and 5th rank is usually more than 10 times, and the strongest human at the 6th rank, if equipped with a suitable god weapon, could even have a power difference of over 100 times. The power of non-human races, who have lived for thousands of years or even longer, is still only at the 6th rank. In theory, the strength of a hero-ranked 6th rank is unfathomable to humans. The legend rank is what humans call the mighty 6th rank of these non-human races. Some of these legendary creatures have existed for a time surpassing even the history of human civilization. As the highest level that the majority of intelligent races can reach, the difference between the upper and lower limits of the hero rank is a puzzle that remains unsolved. It is clear that Yun-Kei is performing at the level of a monster in the hero-ranked category. However, no matter how powerful the hero-ranked beings are, even those ancient species with lifespans spanning thousands of years, they are no match for the legend rank. The field of the legend rank belongs to the realm of gods, the eternal and timeless beginning. The lifespan of a legend rank is unlimited. As long as there are intelligent creatures in the endless gods' domains who remember the existence of this legend rank, they will not fade away. Even the weakest legend rank cannot be killed by ranks below legend rank. The reason why legend ranks are known as the beginning of the eternal path is because of their immortal nature. Even if a legend rank disappears for thousands or even millions of years, and their body has turned into fragments sealed in the abyss, never to see the light of day again, it does not mean they are truly dead. The only ones who can kill a legend rank are other legend ranks, just like the Sky Swords who have achieved the God Slayer title. Their swords even make the gods tremble. However, the death of a legend rank is not truly the end. Being killed is just a phenomenon. Their true form disappears within the endless gods' domains, gradually even their names are forgotten by people. If one day, the legacy left by the legendary rank or a hidden descendant of an unknown bloodline remembers him, then miracles will happen. Perhaps not a complete resurrection, but as long as he is remembered, the legendary rank will return. This is the charm of legends and the ultimate realm pursued by all the wise creatures of the endless gods' domains. Most of the Sky Swords in the Sky Sword God's domain have disappeared, but as long as the Sky Sword God's domain still exists, their legends remain, and no one doubts whether they are alive or not. The Sky Swords who have achieved the God-killing achievement, even if they are far away from the Sky Sword God's domain and enter unknown lands outside the endless gods' domains, they are still proud of the Sky Sword God's domain and are remembered forever in legends. As long as the Sky Sword God's domain exists, the Sky Swords will always be the legends at the highest point of the Sky Sword God's domain, everlasting. The endless gods' domains, which have millions of gods' domains, can be traced back billions of years in history. But the recorded legend ranks have never exceeded 3 digits. During several god wars, this number even dropped below 3 digits. Countless true names of gods disappeared from the endless gods' domains and fell into a sleep that lasted for millions of years, never to awaken. In the recent Twilight of the Gods war, more than a third of the ancient gods in the endless gods' domains fell into a deep sleep at once, making it the most devastating twilight battle in the history of the endless gods' domains. Xiaoling chased after the footsteps of the Sky Sword and knew almost everything about the 17 lives of the Sky Swords that were born in the endless gods' domains. As one of the strongest gods' domains in the East, second only to Kunlun God's domain, the territory of the Sky Sword God's domain is surprisingly small, but the number of Sky Swords born there has shocked the entire Eastern God's domain. Unlike Kunlun God's domain, which is the only divine rank created by the East God's domain, the resources for cultivation and the territory of the Sky Sword God's domain are all just average compared to the endless gods' domains. The probability of producing a legend rank in the Sky Sword God's domain is the highest among all the gods' domains, except for Kunlun God's domain. However, the reason for this remains unknown. After reading all the records about the Sky Sword, Xiaoling discovered the only common point. All the Sky Swords are extraordinary individuals. Those who become Sky Swords are usually people with interests and personalities that are incomprehensible to others. In other words, ordinary people cannot become Sky Swords just by working hard on their cultivation or possessing rare talents. Casina the Battle God is like this. Xiaolongness is like this. Yunhai is also like this. The Master of the Ghost Sword Domain and the Great Xia are the same. Xiaoling, who had memorized all the records that the Sky Sword had found, chose to leave the comfortable palace of the Great Xia and even attempted to challenge the Battle Gods Championship contest. The reason for this was quite simple. Only those who took an unusual path could become the Sky Sword. At this moment, Yunkei, in her eyes, was also embarking on the same path. That's why she felt a sense of familiarity and gradually grew closer to her. As for her brother, Xia Jia, he had the potential to become a great emperor, full of power and authority, but he could never become the Sky Sword. She and him were destined to follow different paths in life. Cough. Xia Jia coughed and opened his eyes, realizing that he had returned to the bonfire. Did I lose? Recalling the endless sword lights he had seen in the sky, Xia Jia finally understood what had happened. Well, brother, you were impressive, but Yunkei was even more impressive. He walks a different path than you, but the same path as me, whispered Xiaoling, leaning against Xia Jia's back. That kid also wants to become the Sky Sword, just like you. Xia Jia's laughter started off mocking, then turned confused, and eventually fell silent. This kid's words might actually have some truth to them. He's just a sissy, plain and simple. Xiaoling chuckled softly, noting that her brother was as stubborn as ever. However, it was this very mindset that qualified him to be recognized by the Black Flame Dragon armor and become the crown prince of the Great Xia. To be the ruler that the Great Xia dynasty needed, Xia Jia had to possess unrivaled authority from the moment he put on the Black Flame Dragon armor. He had to become a king. Chapter 962, Arrogance and Prejudice. I've always been good at reading people, and I can tell you for sure, this kid is definitely not right for you, Xia Jia persisted in trying to convince his overly naive sister. As the prince of the Great Xia, he had seen many people, but none of them had the extraordinary beauty that she possessed. Her appearance was almost inhuman, more like the allure of a creature from another world, making it difficult to determine her gender. What he didn't tell his sister was that this woman, Yunkei, had only been in the ranks of the Great Xia for a short time, yet he had commanded the capture of 3 large boxes filled with love letters addressed to her by 12 black cavalry soldiers. With a personality like hers, even if she had exceptional sword skills, she could never be a suitable match for his sister. If it weren't for her terrifying combat abilities, her appearance alone would have attracted violence and bloodshed. Who cares about powerful figures, extravagant clothes, or early morning court sessions anymore? Dressing her in women's clothing would only accentuate her beauty and make her even more captivating. If his sister were to fall in love with someone like her, she would never find true happiness. Why do you have such a strong prejudice against Yun-Kei? He is such a good and honest person. Xiao Ling curiously looked at Xiao Jie, who kept putting negative labels on Yun-Shi. This only made her more curious. For women, mystery is a never-ending poison. The more you oppose it, the hotter the flames of love burn. For love, they can give up their country, give up their race, give up everything, and even set themselves on fire, like a moth drawn to a flame, helplessly falling for someone they shouldn't. The more obstacles there are, the stronger the longing in their hearts becomes, unstoppable. A good and honest person, that guy. Xiao Jie sneered. With a face as enchanting as a demon, how can this effeminate boy be a good and honest person? Even if he wants to be a good and honest person, those girls who are charmed by his looks won't let him be one. They willingly come to him like moths to a flame, without considering he's supposed to be a good and honest person. He dared to bet that this kid would have good luck and be troubled throughout his life, no matter how aloof he pretended to be. This is something that is very obvious, but it seems that this kid, who lives in his own ideal world and knows nothing about the world, hasn't realized it himself. Beauty is the ultimate goal that all races pursue in the endless gods' domains. Beauty also represents a kind of sin, which can lead to countless conflicts and disasters. Throughout history, there have been numerous rulers who have ruined their countries because of their obsession with women. Especially this guy's beauty, it goes beyond the boundaries of race and gender, and reaches a level similar to a supernatural power. This kind of characteristic only appears in rare races that are naturally favored by the rules of the world, like the fairy clan. From Xiao Jie's perspective, he couldn't understand what was happening with this woman Yun Quebec. She had a charm that was causing chaos, and he noticed that more than one person in his group was looking at him differently. The problem was, in the Great Xia team participating in the White Lotus secret treasure trial, everyone besides Princess Xiao Ling was experienced and fearless warriors. Even these fearless elites of the Great Xia couldn't resist her charm. Doesn't that say enough? Of course, Xiao Jie and his 12 black cavalry would never make such a mistake. As the future ruler of the Great Xia, he was the final line of defense in maintaining order in the team. No matter what, he wouldn't allow this person to cross the line. Little sister, leave it to him to handle. I've said it before, I won't pursue love until I become the Sky Sword. Xiao Ling couldn't comprehend why her brother was so sensitive about this. No being the Sky Sword, no falling in love, that was her vow. In order to catch up with the Sky Sword, she devoted herself to her sword skills, never considering things like love. That's because you've never met someone more talented than you. Xiao Jie looked at her stubborn sister with concern. My foolish sister, you're not incapable of love. It's just that growing up in the Great Xia Palace, you've never met someone who made your heart flutter. As the most talented sword genius of the Great Xia royal family in your generation, you don't find anyone your age appealing because your own skills surpass them by far. You're the best, so naturally you wouldn't be interested in someone weaker than you. I already know what your ideal partner would be like. They don't have to be incredibly handsome, because you don't care about looks. They don't have to be wealthy either, even if they have nothing at all. The image that you imagine is actually very simple and easy to understand. It doesn't matter which Sky Sword it is, from the day you decided to follow in the footsteps of the Sky Sword, you can't have anyone else in your eyes anymore. The person you like must have the potential to become the Sky Sword. And the stronger, the better. Yun-Kei, she's exactly the type that you like the most. At this moment, Xiao Jia even wished that Yun-Shi was a simple and mature middle-aged man. Someone who sees through the world and is free-spirited, excels in swordsmanship and treats others with kindness. It would be better if he had experienced a deeply heart-wrenching love. Such a person would be more suitable for our sister than this monstrous Yun Quebec. At least, this kind of person would not make our sister feel the pain of Azura's bloodshed and would take good care of her. As for this Yun-Kei, her talent in swordsmanship meets our sister's requirements, but her character is absolutely unreliable. She just wants to be a righteous and noble person, but with that appearance, she's just daydreaming her whole life. If my sister is attracted to this girlishly annoying speech, she has no idea how many butterflies will come swarming towards her. I admit. Yun-Kei's talent in swordsmanship is higher than mine, but I will catch up. Xiao Ling, unaware of her brother's heartfelt efforts, bravely voiced her thoughts. That's why everything is ruined. Chasing after something is the same as longing for something. If you continue like this, when something happens, you will have no ability to resist. No, I absolutely can't target this guy. I need someone else, someone else. Isn't Yun-Hai the Sky Sword your idol? Isn't he better? Xiao Jia used to strongly oppose Xiao Ling's admiration for Yun-Hai the Sky Sword, but now he didn't care anymore. They are similar, Yun-Kei and Yun-Hai are both good names. This is a worldview unique to girls, Xiao Ling's teenage intuition. Not at all, Yun-Kei is not a good name. Xiao Jia protested loudly. Big brother, you're a silly goose. I won't talk to you anymore. Xiao Ling stood up angrily, determined to ignore Xiao Jia's warning. Seeing the blush on her sister's cheeks, Xiao Jia knew that things were worsening in the worst possible direction. It's all your fault, Yun-Kei. Chapter 963, The Green Rain, Exhaust all the killing value and level up. Yun-Shi sat by the bonfire and emptied his almost 10 million killing value in one breath. Although it was enough to greatly enhance the limits of the Princess of the Great Xiao and the Crown Prince's killing value, it only slightly warmed Yun-Shi's body, replenishing the consumption of the Battle God Seed, and slightly improving his physical condition. Sure enough, did my body surpass normal limits too much? Yun-Shi had anticipated this, knowing that it wouldn't be easy for him to continue improving his racial limit value. 10 million killing value may be quite a lot when converted to souls in the star trial, but for now, it was just a drop in the bucket in terms of increasing his racial limit value. Compared to it, the gigabit wings that Yun-Shi understood under the crazy barrage of the Leader Bee proved to be an even bigger surprise. The Mist Ghost Sword, strengthened with unreal green crystals, was also satisfying enough. As for the killing value, it's not something to worry too much about. Instead, we can look forward to the unknown conditions that trigger the enhancement of racial talent. 10 million doesn't seem to meet the requirements for enhancing racial talent at all. It seems that there are even more terrifying levels in the upcoming trials. What's the situation with the other teams now? The rain kept falling. It was a pale green rain, emitting a slight scent reminiscent of deep-sea creatures. In the rain, two armies were engaged in battle. On one side, there was a mixed army from Crystal Creek Valley, which had already triggered the hidden setting of killing value, refreshing a hero-ranked leader. Unlike the Leader Bee Yun-Shi encountered, this was another demon worm. Its characteristic was not a barrage in the sky, but a super-strong aura that enveloped the army. The crystal bees, controlled by the demon worm, become bigger and unable to fly. They transform from bees into creatures similar to locusts. Sudden, the demon worm ranked below the top in the celestial demon worm, possesses unparalleled agility and power. Every leap it takes brings a horde of locust guards jumping in unison, causing massive destruction. The opposing army, facing demon worms sudden, also displays their ferocity. No matter how many times they are struck down, they continue fighting, swaying but determined. They emit a miserable green glow in their eyes and green blood constantly flows from their bodies. They are stiff in movement but possess immense strength. Most importantly, they cannot be killed. Regardless of how many times the demon worms tear them apart or even decapitate them, these green figures revive under the nourishing rain of green in the sky. The army of demon worms versus the green zombie army is like a scene from the end of the world battle. The demon nest transformed from the crystal bee's nest can continuously spawn crystal locusts. As long as they are bathed in the green rain, the green zombie army, with their immortality, shows no signs of defeat. The battle lasted from daytime to dusk, and then into the night, until a new day arrived. The combined monster army in Crystal Creek Valley suffered a loss of over 5 million. Finally, the green zombie army started to show scattered signs of damage. Perhaps due to being resurrected too many times, some of the green zombies with weaker constitutions were no longer able to maintain their human form. Even if they were revived by the green rain, their bodies couldn't continue to fight and would stagger and collapse after a few steps. A large amount of green threads moved out of their bodies, crawled up similar bodies, and continued the fight. Behind the army of green zombies, in a team made up of young aristocrats, Child Sanquan looked at the green army with a shocked expression on his face. This isn't an evil god. Even though he prided himself on being clever, he never imagined that he, who was mixed in with the aristocratic camp, would witness such a shocking scene. These so-called green zombie armies were originally the attendants and guards of the aristocrats. When did the young aristocrats of the Endless Gods domain start enjoying this kind of game? Those fearless individuals, who had no concept of life or death, were the very means the evil god loved to use. They could quickly create a large number of cannon fodder soldiers with combat capabilities. These zombies could be mass-produced using ordinary materials, and while their combat abilities may not be as terrifying as those of the black demon dog, there were enough materials to make a lot of them. Is this also a sacrifice? Child Yun, he said, looking at the large wave of zombies. He caught a familiar scent. That demon worm is quite strong, worth hunting. Karan licked his lips, his instincts as a dark rage beast, a bloodthirsty hunter, stirring within him. Something must have happened, it doesn't feel right. Child Sanquan observed the strange glimmer in the eyes of the aristocratic children. Ever since they entered Crystal Creek Valley, everything had started to become chaotic. It was already bizarre to have so many aristocratic children gathered together. These aristocratic children who came to participate in the White Lotus secret treasure trial were all after the legendary treasure. How could the major families from different regions of God's domain get along so harmoniously, even forming this alliance team and easily blending in? Something was off, it was too strange. The noble children, with their green glowing eyes and excited expressions, seemed even more like followers of an evil god. Did they eat something wrong? Child Sanquan sniffed the air, detecting a sweet, sticky smell like candy, making his head feel confused. Yaw! 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 Suddenly, the noble children all shouted out strange slogans together. Quick, join in the shouting. Child Sanquan quickly reminded his foolish teammates. Now was not the time to stand out, but to go with the flow. Yaw! Yaw! Child Yunhee and Karan also started shouting, although both of them were confused. Amidst the strange and fervent murmurs, the green rain from the sky fell even more rapidly, and the remaining army of green zombies, as if energized, began to angrily charge into the swarm of crystal locusts. Boom! 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 In the picturesque Crystal Creek Valley, bursts of green rings suddenly erupted. They were created by a magical spell using green zombies, causing a massive bombardment that wiped out the majority of the Crystal Locust army, along with the injured demon worm Sudden. The remaining green worm creatures scattered on the ground quickly burrowed underground, as if something was approaching. In the next moment, countless corrosive green acid bombs fell from the sky. Chapter 964, Demon Locust. Whether they were called crystal bees or locusts, these creatures had remarkable resistance compared to humans. Ordinary toxins couldn't kill these resilient insects, especially when they were enhanced by the aura of demon worm Sudden. The transformed elite locusts had significantly increased their life force. But even the reinforced locust guards, who were protected by demon worm Sudden, were all quickly dissolved into green poison by the falling green acid bombs. Every time a green poison ring appeared, it meant that thousands of crystal locusts had been corroded to the point of extinction. What's even more terrifying is that as the crystal locusts are corroded, the poisonous water they turn into will evaporate and rise as toxic fog, becoming part of the cloudy sky. Hiss! Demon worm Sudden, who commanded the army of monsters in Crystal Creek Valley, raised his triangular head and stared fiercely at a lingering dark cloud in the sky. Despite the continuous arrival of crystal bees from the hive to join the army of monsters and replenish the troops, the balance of the battlefield had already started to shift completely towards the domain of the noble families, or rather, towards the side of the creatures from the abyss. That never-dissipating green cloud is an interference of some kind, distorting the outcome of this battlefield. Hiss! 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 Demon worm Sudden emitted a chilling screech, a powerful sound possessed by the proud cosmic species who ventured across the stars, the mighty demon worms of the insect race. Even though his body was corroded by green acid, releasing toxic smoke, Sudden remained brave and fearless. The demon worms of the insect race were specially bred and transformed for the insect princesses to conquer countless realms. Each individual demon worm had its own unique name and possessed extraordinary powers beyond human imagination. Although Sudden was only a rank below the top 100 demon worms of the race, his power was far greater than that. His army's special ability was that the more locusts under his command, the stronger he became. As a racial talent, he could release the demon locust virus, forcibly transforming other insect species unrelated to locusts into demon locusts. When necessary, he could reverse the transformation. Become my sustenance. Using his superiority as a demon worm, Sudden commanded the crystal locusts that had transformed under his influence. Millions of crystal locusts flew at Sudden like moths to a flame, one after another disappearing into his body in a burst of light. This was a mandatory command to transform from the Legion battle form to the Ultimate Champion attribute, signifying the sacrifice of over 1 million troops to strengthen himself. Although it was only a very brief special enhancement, his combat power would rise to a terrifying level during this time. Similar to the hidden boss, Crimson Bee, in Crystal Creek Valley, demon worm Sudden also carried part of the insect princess's will. Appearing in Crystal Creek Valley at this moment, it was merely a clone and couldn't unleash its full power, but it should be enough to massacre this group of humans. The furious leader beak showcased the dance of one of the strongest insect princesses in the starry sky, the Crimson Bee, whose special characteristic was an endless barrage of spinning attacks. Child Yun he was shocked to see demon worm Sudden's body transforming into a dark exoskeleton armor, revealing a menacing form. What? This guy turned into a human, he exclaimed. He couldn't believe how his once towering height was compressed to just 2 meters. The sharp and cold lines, the purple-black antennas, and the deep black cloak unfurled behind him, they all emanated a sense of oppression as if he had emerged from the depths of hell. Even with the white crying sword in his possession, Child Yun he could still feel the deadly threat that he couldn't defeat this guy. This is a power close to the 6th rank. Child Samkwon couldn't believe that such a terrifying opponent would appear in just the 1st level. Humph. I can transform too. Charon didn't know why, but the human-like form of Demon Worm Sutton didn't sit well with him. Maybe it was because that magnificent black demon locust suit looked so cool. 1, 2, 3. Demon Worm Sutton twisted his shoulders, and suddenly 3 black spikes protruded from his back, a unique combat auxiliary equipment of the king of the demon locusts. This demon locust suit was bestowed upon Demon Worm Sutton by the insect princess, whom he faithfully served. Its effect was equivalent to the original god weapons of humans. Moreover, it was custom-made specifically for the insect race, granting them devastating destructive power, just like a god weapon. I only need 1 strike to defeat you. The expression of ruthless cruelty intensified in Demon Worm Sutton's eyes. By wearing the demon locust suit, he had forsaken his position as the commander of the legion and personally took the field to deal with his opponent. Yaw! 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 The noble children who can summon acid rain still had creepy smiles on their faces and whispered in a chilling voice, like drug addicts who have taken too much. From behind them, you could almost see with the naked eye a series of green threads connecting together, creating a sinister atmosphere. Among the entire group of noble children, only the trio belonging to the other evil god, Tlahuascalpantecutli, were not affected by this place. The first strike of destruction. Demon Worm Sutton, the king of demon locusts, launched his destructive technique without caring about who his opponent was. During the insect tribe's conquest of the stars, they encountered countless powerful enemies. Wandering amidst the endless halo, representing the superior race of the evil gods, the shining colors of the stars. The twisted divine messengers with strange wings, commanded by true deities. A fantasy species giant snake so huge that it can coil around the stars, but as timid as a mouse. The insect army always follows the commands of the insect princesses and attacks all enemies without questioning who they are. A burst of red and black light explodes from behind Demon Worm Sutton, and a black spike shatters into pieces, granting him immense strength for his punch. This is a fish that smashes all obstacles, destroys everything, and wreaks havoc. The aristocratic camp is instantly shattered by this punch, and over 10 genius members with the White Lotus secret treasure mark are turned to dust. The black shockwave even sends the concentrated group of aristocrats soaring into the sky, and their shattered bodies fall like dumplings, making a crack, crack, crack sound. Chapter 965, Ultimate Move Retreat. The best plan is to know when to withdraw. Child Sanquan, the priest of Tlahuascalpantecutli, instantly discerns the strength of Demon Worm Sutton, who is now wearing the demon locust suit. Except for Prince Charon, the black demon dog, if he and Yunhee get hit by that punch, it would be a devastating outcome. Even though they are both hero-ranked, the power of that demon worm is terrifying compared to human hero-ranked beings. It is a monster among monsters. Luckily, he had his team hidden at the back of the entire group of noble children from the family camp, so they could escape immediately if things didn't go well. Crush them all. After delivering the first destructive blow, Demon Worm Sutton opened his mouth, revealing sharp teeth, and then violently stomped his right foot. An enormous wave of dark gray energy exploded, tumbling and shattering the incomplete noble children as if they were broken puppets. With nearly 4 digits in number, the largest force in the entire White Lotus secret treasure exploration team was almost completely wiped out by Demon Worm Sutton's punch and kick. This is the true power of Demon Worm Sutton, the destructive force of a lower-ranked demon worm from the insect tribe. Except for small teams like Child Sanchuans that fled early after sensing danger, there were only a few stray members left in the entire camp of aristocratic children. Many of them were from the White Lotus Sword Palace and possessed high-level White Lotus secret treasure imprints. About half of the top 10 seats of the White Lotus Sword Palace were once part of the teams of various aristocratic families gathered in the Endless Gods' domains. However, after Demon Worm Sutton displayed his overwhelming strength, everything became meaningless. Just like when Xia Jia and Xia Ling faced the barrage attack from the angry leader Bee, the entire camp of aristocratic children was crushed by the first strike of Demon Worm Sutton's destruction. The barrage attack represented ultimate wide-range firepower, and wearing the Demon Locust suit, Demon Worm Sutton represented absolute individual strength. The first strike of destruction was such a dominating and unstoppable technique, leaving no way out. Even though there were more than 10 hero-ranked experts among the aristocratic children, none of them could withstand this punch. Buzz! Buzz! More crystal bees appeared, transforming into crystal locusts to replenish the Demon Locust suit of Demon Worm Sutton at the cost of their own lives. In just a few seconds, the black thorns, depleted from unleashing the first destructive strike, completed their regeneration. Snap! 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 Demon Worm Sutton stomped on several seemingly still-breathing humans, most of whom possessed high-level White Lotus secret treasure marks. Unfortunately, they had all become helpless losers. Crushing the heads of all the remaining humans one by one, Demon Worm Sutton then noticed a few small insects trying to escape. Do you think you can get away? The black exoskeleton behind Demon Worm Sutton opened up, revealing glossy black wings. Locusts are insects that can fly, and the Demon Locust suit naturally had incredibly high mobility. To think that you could escape in front of the king of demon locusts, humans, you are mistaken. What do we do? That monster is catching up. Child Yunhe's heart was pounding. He never expected to encounter such a monstrous creature in here. Killing it was just like killing a bug. Karan, you protect the rear, we are preparing our special move. Child Sanquan didn't hesitate to command the highest fighting power among the three, Prince Black Demon Dog. Alright, I was just itching to try out my powers after transforming. Karan immediately turned around, roaring as he unleashed his bloodline power. Come on, let us show you the strength of the Dark Fury Beast, the bloodthirsty hunter. What is our special move? Yunhe looked at Child Sanquan with a puzzled face. Did their plan include such a hidden card? I'm preparing it. Let's first escape to a safe place. Child Sanquan certainly didn't tell Yunhe and Karan that the so-called special move was simply a fabrication. Who would have imagined that a simple trial in the White Lotus secret treasure would bring about such strange phenomena? No matter if they were members of an abnormal noble camp, glowing green all over, or monsters like demon worms, wearing black armor, emerging from the crystal bee's nest, they were nothing like what the White Lotus sword domain should have. Child Sanquan could be sure that something went wrong, and it was a major problem. Howl! 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 Karan transformed into a giant black werewolf, with red light bursting from its eyes, and rushed towards Demon Worm Sutton on all fours. The speed was so fast that a series of black shadows appeared behind Karan, as if the ground resistance disappeared beneath its running feet. The more Karan ran, the stronger and more powerful its limbs became, as the bloodline from Cerberus awakened, granting it greater speed, stronger strength, and a stronger craving for flesh. It was time for the hunt. Hiss! Sutton twisted its neck, and the black spikes behind it burst open again. The first strike of destruction erupted for the second time. Bang! The body of Child Sanquan was cut in half, and his intestines flew everywhere. Only the dog head was still biting Sassen's arm, refusing to let go. Go away! Sassen shook his hand in disgust, throwing Karan's dog head onto the ground, and then stomped on it with his foot. What do we do? Karan's dog head was blown up. Watching Karan being easily killed, Child Yunhe felt a deep sense of sadness, like a fox mourning a dead rabbit. Is your special move ready? Child Sanquan didn't have time to reveal the truth, when suddenly the green cloud in the sky split apart. A torrential downpour of green rain fell from the sky. The human remains, drenched in the green rain, began to stand up one by one. Even those with heads blown open and brains oozing on the ground were no exception. Although they appeared imperfectly patched up, they all regained their consciousness. If we count the murmuring sounds of "yeah" as well, all the dead members were resurrected in the same spot. This ultimate move is really amazing. After getting their head blown up, Karan touched their slightly twisted head and felt their morale rise by 10,000 points. This is the ultimate move, impressive. It truly turned the situation around, everyone is resurrected. Child Yun he looked at their friend as if they were meeting them for the first time, with a face full of admiration. Ah. Child Sanquan really wanted to say that he didn't have any cheat to use a group resurrection ultimate move. If he could do such a thing, how could he still be just a low-ranking evil god priest in the remote god's domain? He would have long become the chief evil god priest. So, the question is, it wasn't him who made up this ultimate move, then what's happening now? Demon Worm Sudden looked at the green humans that had sprouted up like mushrooms after the rain, and raised their black iron fist once again. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.